you're listening to She Shield, your one-stop pod for all topics personal safety. I'm your host, Sofia, and my goal is to help educate women and men on concealed carry, martial arts, and all topics self-defense. Before we start today, please take a moment to rate the podcast. Right now, we're sitting pretty at 51 stars, 5-star reviews on Spotify. That really helps the podcast name get out there. So please go and do that if you don't mind. This episode is sponsored by Big Tech's Ordnance, your soon-to-be favorite retailer for all of your firearms needs. BTO believes in only selling high-quality gear for responsibly armed citizens, as well as providing pre- and post-sale support. BTO values firearms training and supports firearms instructors nationwide. They even pay for their own staff to train with high-level instructors to ensure that when you, as the consumer, reach out, you are taken care of. Today, we have Brian Conley of Hunters HD Gold on the podcast and Behind the Lens podcast. I'm so excited that you are here today, Brian. I would love for you to go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. We've talked about this for a while, and it's finally able to come to fruition. So it's been nice. But my name is Brian Conley. I am the president and founder of Hunters HD Gold branded lenses, and also do a podcast called Hunters HD Gold Behind the Lens. So lots of fun, lots of things to discuss today, and have a good time. So I'm excited that we're able to do this finally.
Absolutely. Me too. Thank you so much for coming on. I absolutely love your podcast. For those of you that haven't listened to it, please go check it out. Brian has, please actually, you just tell them, how do you do your podcast? It's so unique.
Well, I travel to matches a lot. That's what I do, and we'll learn more about this. I support the shooting sports, and that's what I do. That's where I built my entire business of Hunters HD Gold around, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But to find the podcast itself, you just search any podcast platform, search Hunters HD Gold, and it pulls up Hunters HD Gold Behind the Lens. But I travel around in a van. That sounds creepy already, but it's not. But there's so much more. I travel and I do the podcast with everybody in person, sitting right there with them. It's not one of those things that I do the show like we do this show, because I feel when I'm directly in front of somebody, I can read body language. I've been in retail management since I was, 19 years old. And through that sales process, everything I've learned through the years, I can learn if I'm on a subject or something that's got somebody like nervous to talk about or not feeling right. I can pick up on that pretty quick and have to change subjects. I can change subjects without having the guest feel comfortable in going down a path they didn't want to go down. So I think out of 4 seasons of episodes, I think I've only had to edit 2 shows, and that's kind of it's all just very raw conversation. One was edited because a gentleman by the name of BJ Norris, he does some stuff with the Border Patrol, and we went down a couple of subjects he needed to take out, which that wasn't an issue. And I don't even think I remember the other one, but the one I did with JJ Racaza, that was straightforward, no editing. It is what it is. And the funny thing about that one is because I had Miss Racaza ask me, I was at Dragon's Cup when I did that, and she came to me and goes, "Brian, do you mind if I listen to that before you post it?" And normally I'd be like, well, that's kind of odd, but based on what she does, and you can find out by listening to the podcast, I said, yes, based on you being able to make my life completely miserable, I'll be glad to let you listen to it first. And I gave her the recording, and she says, if I call you back, we'll talk about anything that needs to be taken out. And if you don't hear from me, go ahead and post it. And never heard from her. And we're still good friends today with the Ricazas as well. So
good deal. Check and check. Absolutely.
But it's a lot of fun, and being able to be around some of the best competitive shooters in the world weekly at all the matches I get to go to throughout the United States, and being able to travel. My home office is here in Alabama. I'm in my home gun room now, where I do a lot of my own shows live on Rumble, and we'll talk more about that because that's very important. But it's neat to be able to go see the rest of the United States. There's only 6 states in the Northeast I haven't been to, and 3 states in the Northwest I haven't been to yet. And got those on the plan to be there very soon. But, and that's another place you can find the video portion of the podcast as well, is all on Rumble. I took everything off YouTube a while back when
Huh.
they, stopped supporting the, guns and everything else. And I am a man that try to live by what I preach. And if you go to the Hunters HD Gold YouTube channel, it actually looks like a Rumble channel, and it tells you where to go see everything at. And had a great success with all the followers coming over from YouTube to Rumble. And it's taken a while to build that channel up, but it's worth it because there is nobody's pushing you back. For an example, I go live at events that I'm at, and I went live at the Clash Bash this year, and we went live for like 7 hours at their people watching everything else. And it stayed on the Rumble homepage for like 4 or 5 hours on the sports homepage during that time. And we had over 170,000 views. And that's one of those things that YouTube would never do anything like that with people shooting automatic weapons in the background.
Right.
And all the stuff with the AKs they did. We'd have got shut down so fast on YouTube, it'd have been just a nightmare. So, being able to go to matches every weekend is really the neatest thing about what we did with building up Hunters HD Gold around the shooting sports. So
Absolutely. How incredible. And I'm over here taking notes, for myself, like post everything to Rumble now. I just had
if you have a Rumble channel, please, that's where, that channel's growing more and more and more. I actually found out about Rumble watching Power Slap. Something came up about Power Slap. And Power Slap is what Yes.
Oh.
Power Slap. And it was exclusively on Rumble. And I set up an account a long time ago to watch, their season premiere and everything else. And then I started watching the people, Chris, the owner that's behind it and everything else, lives down in Florida, out of Canada. And they just kept preaching this free speech. I was like going, all right, let's really see what's going on here. And when we go live at events, it's amazing. They actually got a category now under sports for firearms. And, I actually sent them an email when that happened. And I actually, asked, hey, would there be a category under sports for the shooting sports? And I got a reply within 2 weeks talking about, let's just do firearms right now, see how this continues to grow, and we don't have a problem adding shooting sports in the future. There is no way in hell YouTube would even consider something like that.
No,
so I have got fully behind Rumble 100%. And you just search Hunters HD Gold on Rumble, and you can see all the stuff we do there and all the live events I do from here at the house and also when I'm on the road. So it's been a lot of fun.
Wow. So. Well, thank you for sharing that, because censorship is a big part of my job, not only because, I have my own social media page, but for the Livefire app, the whole reason we started our community page is because of all the censorship the 2A community is getting. So I have to work around that all the time just to get the word out about our kind of safe haven model that we have. So thank you for sharing that.
And you're very welcome. And it's very important because a lot of people ask me, how did you build your Rumble channel so fast? And I said, well, I didn't give me another choice. I used to go live on Facebook, live on Instagram, live on YouTube, and then I went live on Rumble to begin with. And you can also go live at the same time on all these other platforms. Mm-hmm. But I stopped doing that. I strictly just use Rumble only. And then I can go to Facebook. I can go to Rumble, share it to Facebook, share it to Instagram, and you have to go back to Rumble to watch it. It's free to set up an account just like YouTube is. And if you want to comment or like a post, you just have to set up a free account. And when you don't give anybody a choice, they have to go there to see your content. Then if you have content that's relevant to what people are interested in, especially in the shooting sports world, then it makes a huge difference. And that's how you do build it up. And it's taken years. And I've had a lot of people that I've told about it, and they're getting more views on Rumble than they are on YouTube. But I understand there's a lot of great shows out there that are on YouTube and they're getting paid. They don't want to give that money up. I understand that. It's just, I don't want money given to people that's being used against us. And that's just my personal thing. And that's just, that's how I am. It's not an easy, but I'm not doing the podcast for money. That's one of those things. This is just a service to promote the shooting sports. And that's where my passion and everything has come from, is just promoting the shooting sports.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. It's making me reflect on YouTube because recently my focus for social media has been to post long form content on YouTube. And Rumble, I've only heard rumblings of, haha.
Yep.
But I recently, I don't know, I've been thinking about it because my YouTube video views are so bad. I had one, the review of the Sig Eggs macro that took off pretty well.
Yeah.
And then everything else that's like, self-defense for concealed carry, or not self-defense for concealed carry for runners and things like that. All those views are incredibly suppressed. And so this feels exciting. I'm excited to look into it.
Well, and then once you get it there on your platform, you can share it to all the other platforms, and it links it back to where they have to go to your Rumble account to see it. So with the
Oh,
content you're putting out there, people are going to want to come find it. So if you make that decision one day to say this is the only place you can see it, it's going to happen. The Republican National Convention is going on while we're recording this,
mm-hmm.
and they have had the best coverage, bar none, of the entire Republican National Convention. And I watched other channels trying to listen to this, but if somebody's on stage talking that, maybe talking the truth, they're going to go to their commentators and not highlight these people that may not be known. And on Rumble, they're going on there and they're not interrupting anything. They're letting everybody talk, letting it get out there. And I think last night there was 55,000 people watching at one time on last night. And that was Tuesday night. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like this weekend or Thursday when everything really kicks in. So,
Oh, good deal.
that's between and using platforms that support us like X. I put a lot of stuff out there on X and a lot of
Yeah.
stuff out there on Rumble. And I'm still using Facebook and Instagram just like everybody else, but I'm directing everybody back to Rumble. That's the
Mm.
key. And that's your training lesson for today on what I'm doing, and it's working. But it's one of those things that just takes time and it takes commitment, and you just have to we got to use the platforms that people use money against as part of it. But the more we can leak away and do more and more of the other platforms that are supporting us and putting our advertising dollars there as well, then that's the big difference for the future. And Rumble, if you do your research on it, it's a pretty cool platform.
Oh,
So
I love that. Yeah. Well, they should have you as a spokesperson because that's incredible.
well, the
Yes.
fact they'll actually reply to emails and have a conversation with you about stuff. We went back about 3 or 4 emails back and forth talking about, how much I appreciate this and everything else. And Chris, you'll see the owner of Rumble, he gets on other people's shows all the time and just comes on there and starts talking about everything else. And it's not like your average, social media platform. It's really about the freedom. And there's some far right people there that I don't listen to. There's some far left people on there I listen to. But guess what? They're not shadowing anybody. They let everybody speak their word, and that's what it's all about. The Louder a Crowder show, is on there, and that's a lot of good information. And some people think he's too far this, too far that, but you usually just take information here and make your own decision up. And that's the way all of social media should be. Is let everybody speak what they want to speak, and you make your own opinion. That's what it's really
Yes.
about, right?
Absolutely, but we have to start with letting them speak for sure. And this is a good place to say we recently started. We're posting on Rumble starting this week, the podcast. I didn't think to take my own content, like the Fit for Via content, onto Rumble, but now I see the value in that. So seriously, and anyone else listening, take this as your sign. I mean, Brian has spoken, people.
It takes
Awesome.
so long to get your stuff off YouTube. I actually took everything off YouTube,
Oh yeah.
downloaded it, and put it on Rumble.
Oh nice.
YouTube does not make it easy to get your content off
Oh
there.
wow. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah.
It's a process. So when you go to download something, you just get ready for it. It's not. It took me weeks and weeks to do everything like I wanted it done. But
Interesting.
it's a whole nother animal. YouTube don't want to take it away. And the funny thing is, Rumble has it set up where you can actually stream to Rumble to stream to YouTube through Rumble, but
Oh,
YouTube has to approve it, and YouTube's not approved my Rumble channel. If that makes any sense to stream
that
to.
does
So
make sense, and that's unfortunate. Yeah, for
it is what
real.
it is.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Ugh, yes, the
Yep.
censorship is real. Recently, so many episodes on this podcast have started with just talking about how the 2A community is changing. And
Right.
social media censorship has just affected us all so much. Um, Yeah, and I don't know if you're on live fire yet, but you absolutely, we need to talk about that sometime.
I am on live fire.
Ooh, okay.
Elena got me involved with that a while back. With
Yes.
Elena James got me involved
Hmm.
with that, and she used to be in the shooting sports a lot before she decided to get married and have a kid. So she's doing extremely well. Talk to Jesse
Yeah.
now more than I do Elena, but she had told me
Yeah.
about live fire and everything, and we set up an account, and there's one on there, Hunters HD Gold, that you can search, and I set that up. It's just I haven't found a way where I can continually remember, because I'm doing so much other stuff, and I have not
Right.
put that on my marketing director, who is Three Gun Kinsey, that does everything for me on all my social media
Yeah.
platforms.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
if I throw
Yeah.
something else at her, it's not a problem. It just means she's going to end up looking at that every month, and I end up paying more money. So I haven't
Ah,
done that.
yes, yes. Absolutely. Yes. No, that's totally fair. I mean, it does take more time to expand to more
Right.
channels. Um,
But you are the live fire queen. And if you go to
thank
Hunters
you.
HD Gold, follow me there. And if I start seeing more content and more things happening, then I'm gonna try. I haven't tried to share links. Can you share links to live fire?
Yes, you can.
Okay, good. So this
Yes.
is great, because I'll make a note
Oh,
and I will
lovely. Yay.
share
Yeah.
the Rumble links when I put out stuff
Yeah.
to live fire.
That sounds lovely. And it's also just to bring them back to you as an option for a channel that does support specifically the 2A community. And we also, I enjoy the rapid fire TV. I found myself just scrolling through there the other night. It's basically Instagram Reels, but for the shooting community.
Right.
But enough about live fire. I would
No, it's
love
good.
to
Mike
hear.
Mike Seeklander is a great friend of mine as well. So
Oh,
we're working
he's
together on some
lovely.
stuff as well. So no, everybody there, I'm very much aware of what's going on with it. So
Good deal. Well, I would love to pivot now and go
yeah.
into how you got started with Hunter's HD Gold. How did this
Oh
happen?
my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's crazy, because just dumb luck. And we can go back into a complete history, I guess. We can speed up anytime you're ready. But
Oh,
I didn't own
please.
a gun until October of 2011.
Hey.
Okay. And I grew up in the retail world. I've managed everything from Best Buys to Targets to Verizon Wireless to Men's Warehouse, Sears. I've worked a lot of jobs in retail management, because the only way you got more money was being headhunted by somebody else, or quit and go work somewhere else to get more money in the retail world. But I did that when I was gosh, Lee, 19 years old, all the way up until I was almost 40, or right at 40. So that's all my background is, I know. But to get there, in October of 2011, my wife's father passed away, and I inherited 6 firearms that I still have today, and they were all some hunting shotguns, all the Remington 1100 series, and like 12 gauge, 28 gauge, 410. I think 14, 410, 28, 12, and 16 gauge, and then a couple of pistols or something like that. I just inherited when he passed away. I never owned a gun before. My dad did when I was growing up, but I never, did. And when I got these, I started studying them a little bit and learning the history of them, because a little bit of Alabama history. Some of the shotguns were used back hunting, because her grandfather was the mayor of Bessemer for 18 years in Bessemer, Alabama.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
pretty high up dignitary back in the day. And he used to go hunting with Bear Bryant, and who was the football coach at Alabama for years and years. So
Okay.
I saw some pictures, everything else. These shotguns were actually taken hunting on those trips for dove hunting and everything else. So I said, okay, this is kind of a cool thing. And then I got more involved and started just buying more guns, which is what I'm like. I'm a horrible hobbyist, because once I get involved in something, there's no turning back, and it's going to be very expensive. And so I started buying guns and collecting calibers of different kinds of guns.
I love
So
it.
it was not good, but it's okay. I've got a wonderful gun room now. Some of the stuff you can see behind me,
Yes.
but it's one of those things that, I did that for, about a year and a half, couple of years. And I was at a point where I said, I want a place to go shoot these. I didn't know anybody in the industry. You got to keep in mind, this is somebody who just bought a gun out of the blue and started going to meet local gun ranges and buying MSRP or higher on everything. Just the wonderful quote unquote perfect customer for the gun world.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
and I got to a point in late 2012 talking to a gentleman about, one of my personal friends. I think we need to buy some property together so we can go actually, go hunting or not even hunting at that point, just have a place to go shoot some guns. And in March of 2013, we closed on some property about 2 hours out of Birmingham that was about 180 acres of 280 acres of property.
Wow.
And that's what got me into that world. So I taught myself a lot about game management. We built a lake. I worked with a lot of people at Pradco through Moultrie and marine biologists. Actually built a 5 or 6 acre lake. Just learned about all of it. Being outdoors on the weekends. So, I'm at ranges now from Thursday to Sunday, pretty much every weekend out of the year. And back then I was Thursday through Sunday, I'd go out to the Triple Forks hunting, and I would, go on a tractor and make green fields or new areas with a bobcat. And just, that's what I did, because that was another hobby I got into on top of continuing to buy guns and everything else.
Right.
And there's a fire break on the property. There's some different areas to hunt with. And when I went out hunting, I think later that year in 2013, I was noticing that if I had binoculars looking at a fire break, which is about 40 to 50 yards in width. Okay, so I'm looking. Okay, I see a deer. Then I go up, get the gun, and the animal's not going to stay in the fire break long out in the open, because it realizes they want to hide. And by that time I'd see the rear end of a deer. So that gave me an idea that I needed to be able to identify antlers quicker. All right. So I came up with, I was working at the lab at the time, and that lab is Optical Prescription Lab that my wife owns. So, she talked me into coming to work for her a while back, and that was a whole nother story about I don't want to work for her. But basically, she comes into the office and I leave, and it's still like that today. But anyway, we make lenses at Optical Prescription Lab. We make lenses for ophthalmologists and optometrists. So we're a full-fledged optical lab. I got 17 employees, and we make everything from on the hockey puck of the lens from the very beginning to the very end. And that's what we do for ophthalmologists and optometrists on a daily basis. So I was doing marketing for them and working with doctors, but that's a whole nother story we'll get off on another day. But so I went back to the lab wanting to make me a lens to be able to identify, antlers quicker without binoculars. And there was a lot going on with different colors, I found out, and everything else. And I went through 70 different variations of the gold color that you and I are both wearing today until we got it right. I mean, that's how many different variations there was. And basically, I wanted a lens that I was going to be able to identify antlers out to 200 yards. Well, that's a lot of contrast coming in. So these lenses did that. And when I got out of the tree stand or shooting house during, after the morning, and I went out stalk hunting, which I truly love doing to this day, then the lenses would change to get darker and then be able to see and have more contrast. When I got in the woods, the lenses would always change. I didn't think anything about it. It was just, they were just something I made for myself as a hunting lens. And it worked. And I had my business partner was there, and he had a pair, he loved them. And I took about 4 or 5 pair and put them out there at the property for guests to come out there, that were going to hunting, because we actually eventually turned Triple Forks hunting into a pay per day kind of hunt location. So people would actually pay to come out there and go hunting, on the weekends or during the weekday. And that's what I did probably for, we did for a while. That's what I would do is, entertain people, because I knew people from the retail world. So I just took my knowledge of all the people I knew and told them I had a hunting property, and it worked out great in Alabama. So one day we're out there building the lake, and it was a whole nother process to talk about, but building the lake out there, and there's a guy that comes to me who's on a tractor and a bulldozer and all this other stuff he's got moving dirt, and he goes, "Hey, I need to get this wasp spray from, it says Pelham, Alabama on the back of it. I said, well, hell, I live in Pelham. All right, I'll go pick some up for you. And it was, Rainbow Technologies wasp spray. Didn't think anything about it, but he said it's the best stuff out there to go get. I said, sure, I'll go get it and see what that's all about. So I think that was on a weekend when I was out there. And I think that Monday or Tuesday, I found Rainbow Technologies and went by their location in Pelham, Alabama, and went up to the front door, knocked on it, and it was locked, had to be buzzed in. I'm like going, don't think this is, they do retail, but let's figure out what's going on. And they let me in, and I talked to the marketing director that was there because they were really shocked that somebody just walked off the street. I just wanted to buy a case of this wasp spray. Come to find out, Rainbow Technology sells to a lot of like AT&T, Verizon Wireless, stuff like that. So it's some high-end chemicals that are, is the best out there that a lot of people use. So anyway, I left my card. He told me told me to go buy it online because they couldn't sell it there. I didn't have a problem with that. And I left my card with them and went and bought some. And about 2 or 3 days later, a gentleman by the name of Larry Joe Steely called me up and said, hey, heard the whole story. You come by here and everything else. And I see you got some hunting property. I was like, yeah, sure do. And him, he ended up booking a hunt with him, his brother, and his nephew. And they came out there to hunt at Triple Forks Hunting. So out there doing that process, I guided the hunt and did a lot of things out there on site. And they saw the lenses out there. They didn't have any name on them or anything, of course. Larry's asking, what's this? And I was like, well, this is some lenses I made for people to go shooting with because I could identify antlers quicker just wearing my glasses, not having to use binoculars at 200 yards. And I could still, get my rifle quicker to harvest an animal. And it worked great for that. And he goes, he had prescription glasses on and said, can you make these in prescription? I said, oh yeah, that's no problem. My wife owns a lab back in Pelham, not too far from your place. And I ended up making him a pair of prescription glasses, and he wore them. He loved them. We became friends based on that. And he asked me if I'd ever heard of cowboy shooting. I was like, no, I'm all in. I didn't care. I was like, so he told me about, this cowboy action shooting, which I later to come to find out was a single action shooting society. And I was all in. So I went and bought all these guns. I went and bought me a lever action, 2 Ruger Vaqueros with, the serial numbers that are sequential, and bought a shotgun and started doing cowboy shooting. And my alias in single action shooting society is light bender because I've been light for a living. So
yes.
That was fun, and awesome. I did that. I had a blast. That's when I first got my taste of any kind of shooting competition or anything, and I was just having a really, really good time. And I was making, meeting people there at Brock's Gap here in Birmingham, Alabama, and everybody saw the lenses I had on and everything else, and I was making lenses for people locally and stuff like that. I wasn't spending much time out there at the hunting camps. My business partners out there because hobby is a hobby. I told you, I'm like squirrel. Time to go do something else. And I was out there doing everything on top of everything. And I don't know to this day how it managed it all out. But I'm sitting there. I don't know. This is probably 6 months into it, and I'm out there with Larry, and he got me into it. I think his alias is Bama Kid, and we're shooting shotgun. He goes, "You really need to do something with these lenses." I said, "What do you mean, Larry?" He goes, "Well, I don't like this paint." And and he, he's a chemical guy that does, wasp sprays, ant sprays, all this other stuff for AT&T. He goes, I got something I can do with this paint, and you need to do something with these lenses. I said, all right, Larry, whatever. Just to be honest with you, I wasn't interested. I'm having a good time.
Right.
I don't want to take on any other businesses that I'm working on right now because this is what I'm doing, having a blast. And the lab's doing great. Everything's doing well. We're bringing in some new customers to the lab through, direct sales. People from Alabama were coming to the lab to get some lenses made in prescription because in cowboy action shooting, the average age there is about 54 years old and they need prescriptions. So I didn't think anything about it besides, this is some extra income coming into the lab, and that's kind of cool. So I didn't see Larry for about 6 months. And I'm still shooting cowboy every other weekend I could, traveling up North Alabama to Alabama regulators. I'm having a blast, just going all over the place. And I get this phone call from Larry later on, and it says, "Hey, I need you to, I need your logo and a name. I found a shooting team we're going to sponsor. I was like, what are you talking about? Cowboy? He goes, no, 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 no. I found this thing called Steel Challenge. I'm like,
Nice.
what do you mean? I don't have there's no name for this. There's nothing. I said, well, we need to get something going because I'm starting a shooting team. I was like, what? Well, he made this paint, and this paint is now known as Steel Target paint. And it's a number one paint at all the ranges. Anybody listening to this has seen Steel Target paint. So Steel Target paint's made in Pelham. And he goes, well, you've got about 2 weeks. I said, 2 weeks? I said, I don't know the first thing about making a logo or even a name. What are you doing here, Larry? You've lost your mind. And if you know Larry, Larry's a very last minute kind of guy, and he's going to get it done. But that's why, it's part of it. So anyway, he told me I could work with his marketing director. So I went to the office, sat down with his marketing director, and the name Hunters, it's a hunting lens. I like gold because it was a gold color based on the dye, but Hunter's Gold was already taken by a deer supplement company that was there.
Oh.
So I'm talking to my wife about everything else. And we thought a bunch of others' names and everything else, but I was like, man, I really like Hunter's Gold. This is really cool. And she goes, well, it's made on the digital generator. That's high definition and Hunter's HD Gold. And that's how the name got started. It's a hunting lens when it got started, HD for the high definition, lenses based on a digital generator, and gold for the color. So not a lot of work went into this in 2 weeks, but that's what it was. And the very first logo we came out with was a pretty cool logo. I have to send it to you so you can post it up there.
Yeah, we'll add it to this.
Was Hunter's HD Gold, but the H and the D, I'm a big logo guy from marketing, but the H and the D are in orange, and it was all hidden, like Hunter's HD Gold with one logo. I even got one up here. Hold on a second. Yeah, right here. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's the very first logo that was done. And you see how the H and D is hidden in there. It got called Hunter's Gold forever. I mean, that was the very first logo. Yeah. And the lenses would change from, the light golden color to the dark golden brown. And that's how everything got started by me. I told Larry, I said, what's this going to involve me sponsoring? I'm not ready to put a bunch of money out there. We've lost your mind. He goes, I've got eight people. You get them 8 pairs of glasses, and I'm going to put you on the jersey, and that's how we're going to do it. I'm like going, okay, doing all the cost analysis, everything else. I'm like, fine, that'll work. So I'm doing this, and I'm having to come up with a price and everything else at this point because we're a wholesale optical lab. Keep that in mind. Yeah. We don't have the doctor's markup. So I had to come up with pricing for Hunter's HD Gold, and the MSRP is $375. At the time, it was $369, and I can tell you why that changed, just because it was easier for me to do math at matches and stuff like that, collecting money. So that was not my major. So totally it was $369 when it first got started. And I priced it as a high-end pair of Maui Gems and a high-end pair of Costas. And those two brands do one thing for you only. They're polarized. With Hunter's HD Gold having 6 different features in them compared to the others at the same price point, I knew I could build the advantages of that difference in money for people to go, I understand why they're $369 now, which is now $375. And then when prescription shipping back and forth, it's all about the numbers, and that's $400 when you do shipping with prescription lenses. But when you talking about that at $400 for prescription lenses, that's any prescription. So single vision, progressive, bifocals, upside down bifocals, which is the bifocal on top, bifocal in the middle, bifocal on the side. I don't care where you want your bifocal, we can put it. And then progressive no line bifocals, which can get very expensive from your doctor's office, up to $1,200, $1,500, $2,000 or more. Wow. And it's still the same price of $375. And then once we have your first pair done, if your prescription ever changes, then we do customer loyalty discounts, and it's even cheaper than that. So
very nice.
It was, that's how we got started and doing Steel Challenge. And in 2017, you can tell us all this happened, but in 2017, I went to my first match, wasn't sponsoring it, but I didn't sponsor them, but I went there because everybody wanted me to come meet the Steel Target shooting team. And I never met any of them. I didn't do that. I was still shooting cowboy. I did not care. Lightbender was having a blast with 4 guns out there playing cowboy, putting on a cowboy hat. And I've got some nice cowboy hats and everything else. When you get to dress up as a cowboy and shoot, you can make fun of that all you want to. It's a freaking blast.
Oh,
but
I bet. Absolutely. Attention all knife enthusiasts. Today's episode is sponsored by the one and only Cold Steel Knives. For over 3 decades, Cold Steel has been leading the way in the knife industry, dedicated to creating the world's strongest and sharpest blades. They've pioneered countless innovations that have become industry hallmarks of quality and sophistication. From their revolutionary checked Kraton handles to the iconic Tonto point blade systems, Cold Steel's progressive accomplishments have set new standards in the field. Their trademark triad locking mechanism remains unrivaled by any of their competitors, proving its unbeatable performance time and time again. Their impressive lineup goes beyond just knives. They offer swords, tomahawks, machetes, cutlery, and a wide range of tools for everyday carry. Trusted by military, law enforcement, emergency services, self-defense professionals, and martial arts practitioners, Cold Steel is renowned for quality, strength, reliability, and dependability. Where strength, safety, and performance come together for over 3 decades and counting. Use code SHESHIELD20, that's SHESHIELD 20, again, SHESHIELD20 at checkout. I love seeing them. They're usually shooting during USPSA matches, and it's been really cool to look over and see all the outfits. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm actually very interested. I kind of want to do it just to try it. Like I did.
That's how Jesse Harrison got started.
Oh, no way. Oh, that's so
and
cool.
Now she shoots for Taurus. But yeah, Jesse Harrison got started in cowboy action. So
how
there's
cool.
There's a lot of people that get started in that, and there's a lot of stuff out there. So in 2017, October of 2017, I went to my first World Rimfire Championship up in Cavern Cove. And I went there because I knew about Cavern Cove because I get this great cowboy town where I used to go shoot cowboy all the time. And I went there and I was blown away because there was kids, adults, mom, dads, grandparents, everybody was there. And I was like going, what is this circus I've done walked into? Because when you go to a cowboy match, there's not a lot of vendors at locals and stuff like that. And I never traveled to Ended Trail or any of the big stuff shooting cowboy. I was just having fun locally. And there's just all these people there. And I ran into a gentleman who I respect dearly to this day who helped get me started. And was a couple of people got me started, but this is Michael Bain. And I ran into Michael Bain. This is back when Michael had taken the Rimfire Challenge Shooting Association from NSSF and started it with some other people. And I ran into Michael Bain.
Yeah.
And I loved him because I always saw him on Shooting Gallery, on the Outdoor Channel. So I got to meet him and I'm all, fanned out like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And we talked for a little bit and he asked me what I did and everything else. And I sent him a pair of glasses. But the conversation that happened there was, I'm looking around and I'm going, there's other vendors here. There's an opportunity. There's people selling stuff. There's an opportunity there. And that match is funny because I'll back up a little bit. When I got those 8 people, the Hunters HD Gold, they loved them. And my wife, when I told her what I was doing, she was like, Brian, where's our liability? Because we've never done anything like this in the public before. So you remember from 13 all the way to 17, there's a lot of gaps and a lot of time. And what happened was, I told her, I said, I have no idea. Let me think about it and get back with you. Well, about 2 days later, I got back with her. I said, I got it. We're going to make all the lenses safety rated. And at the time was 2015 standards of ANSI, 2015 standards. And we're going to make all the frames safety frames. And there's going to be, that's going to cover that with our, of course, liability insurance, everything else. We're going to make everything safety. Now, doing that, there's not a lot of sexy safety frames on the market when I first got started. And when I found a company up in New York called Artcraft Optical, up in Rochester, New York. Charlie Eagle, working with him, still work with him today, still uses frames today, but there's a lot more to that story. But so I had some safety frames that he had, and that's how we got started with 8 different frames. Now, I didn't care about the frames, and my wife's like, these frames are ugly. I said, you're the one that, wanted to make sure where our liability was and everything else. And that's how we started off with these frames that everybody just were, they had to get over the point. I didn't realize how much vanity was in the shooting sports. But
Mm-hmm.
just getting started, I'm like, this is it. It's about the lens. This is where everything's at. This is where, and in the steel challenge side, they were seeing the edges of the target. They were seeing the target faster. They were seeing, everything how it was supposed to be more crisp. And there's a story to that because there's a lot of great frame companies out there. And we know them all. We see them daily when we go to the range, but I'm a lens manufacturer. One big difference of Hunter's HD Gold is you've heard of plastic lenses and you've heard of polycarbonate. Okay. It's good material. Nothing wrong with that. I don't use it. We use a material called Trivex. The best optics out there for anything is glass. And that's why a lot of, of your higher end brands that we already mentioned make those in glass for fishing. That's your best lens quality out there. But we don't do glass at Optical Prescription Lab. We did it years ago, but once you do glass, you can't do glass, polycarbonate, plastic, and Trivex in the same machine because it contaminates it. So a lot to learn there as we were going. But Trivex is lighter and stronger than plastic or polycarbonate. But the biggest difference is it allows 43% more light to your eyes than clear polycarbonate does. That's how much better optics it is. So remember the first time you put them on when you came to, see me at that time, I said, put these on. You're like, wow, these have a
Yes.
prescription. No, they don't. You just have 43% more light coming to your eyes than what you're used to with polycarbonate.
Mm-hmm.
So people were seeing their targets faster. A lot of people, a lot of state champions, Alabama state champion, they started winning matches wearing Hunter's HD Gold. And it blew my mind. And I'll get back to the story of the World Rimfire Championship when I met Michael Bain and also met another gentleman by the name of Brian Hacker, who is the owner of Tandem Cross up north in New Hampshire, I think, or Connecticut. I don't know. He'll kill me later. But my point being is I saw them. I talked to Brian about, he was traveling around to this match from up north in Connecticut is where he's from. And I was like, so do you go a lot of these matches if I did something like this? Well, he gave me a list of like 4 other matches to go to, to try it out next year. And Michael Bain gave me a list of matches to go to. And that's, what kind of got me started. So in 2018, in that March, I went to the Georgia State, it was Georgia State or is one of those, a match in Georgia over at one of the matches there. And that's what got it all started. And I think they gave me a list of 8 matches to go to. The very first year I ended up doing over 20 matches. And now all the way where we're at now in 2024, I've got between 35 and 45 matches on the schedule for this year. So
wow.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but that's, what I found out through supporting the shooting sports is once you support the shooting sports and you become a part of that, which we'll talk more about later, people want to support you in a business. Because I built this entire business once I found out about Steel Challenge, where we started at, that's what we did. And don't get me wrong, in 2018, it was not easy. There was people that the Steel Target Paint shooting team and Steve Foster, a lot of those guys sent me a lot of customers and stuff like that. But when, for 6 months, there wasn't a lot of people that talked to me because all they heard was $369 pair of glasses. What kind of voodoo is this guy think he's selling? Because I'm just happy with this $7 pair I've got at Walmart or Home Depot or anywhere else. And so, and my wife asked me, she goes, what's the, you got a lot going on. What's the plan? I said, I'm going on an education tour. This is all about education at this point. You just like starting off in sales back in 1990 when I was 19, 20 years old, at that point, it's all about education. And I've known this in everything I've ever done. You learn about the product. You can learn about the product till you're blue in the face. But I always had the edge when I through my sales process of building relationships. And that's not just trying to sell somebody something, it's trying to understand what people's needs are. What do you need? Why do you choose this? Why do you choose that? What is your lifestyle? And it all boils back down to lifestyle questions. It's just like the old thing a long time ago, sell me this pen. That's a trick question.
Right.
It doesn't matter about the features of the pen. The person that goes into lifestyle questions about who you are as a person and what kind of pen you're looking for based on your lifestyle, there's the answer to that question. It has nothing to do with the pen or the salt shaker or anything else that we did back in sales back there in the 90s when sales was a true art, that's a dying art, based on people that don't know how to ask lifestyle questions and really build relationships. Now, that's what I did. I built relationships. And for 6 months, I went out there and not many people talked to me. And, you come home, sell one pair at a match or two pairs at a match, and I'm having, woo, everything is great, because, and don't get me wrong, there was a lot of branding that was going on during the first 2 years in 18 and 19 of just, here, you try, just like I did with you. You try them yourself. Let me know how you like them. Because if you don't like them, then let me know, because that's how I can make changes for the future. And that's something else we did. The very first color we came out with compared to where we're at today, they changed a little bit. They went lighter indoors. They used to be a little bit darker indoors.
Okay.
So it like more of the spectrum of the logo, like we talked about before. The logo, when I said they actually blends the colors going together. So from light to dark.
Okay.
And we actually went back to the light part to get where it's at now.
Oh, I see.
And
okay.
Based on lighting, not a lot of people knew the change we did because it was so minor. But, I see some people come up and I'll look at their lenses going, you've had those lenses for like 3 years. And they're like, yeah, I've had these since you first got started. And that means a lot because one, they're still using them after 3 years. And when somebody has to replace a pair, then they find out about the customer loyalty discount and everything else that we offer. So being in that situation where, to support the shooting sports was just huge. And then in mid 2018, I went to my first USPSA match in Mississippi at the Mississippi Classic. And when I got set up there, no big deal. Nobody knew who I was. And like, oh, great. Another shooting sport. Let's get started over from the very beginning again. Some people had heard of me because there is some mix from Steel Challenge going over to USPSA and back and forth. So some people knew me that shot Steel Challenge that wanted me to come to this match. Well, I got set up, didn't think anything about it, but that's when I found out people run with guns. And that was like, you've got to be kidding me. I've never seen this before. I was in amazement. I was just like, oh, people don't even know this is out here because I didn't know it was out there. So I know other people don't know what's out there. So I got in, went to my first USPSA match, and that was just a blast.
Oh, I bet.
And,
yeah.
I've never seen anything like it, but still the same old thing. Like, what? Three what? Oh, okay, thank you. And it's like, education, here we go again.
Right.
Because I met one of my personal friends today, and if you ever follow my Instagram on Hunters HD Gold Behind the Lens, which I'll tell you more about that in a little bit, why I have my own Instagram account. I met a gentleman named Luigi Lee at the Mississippi Classic. And he was walking from one stage to another, and I was set up on a berm when I first got started in between two stages because I'm in marketing. I get to see everybody walk by me sitting right there where I'm at. And I had hearing protection. I didn't care about it being loud or not. I enjoyed it. So Luigi, the Dupuis out of Mississippi came and introduced me to Luigi Lee. And we're all still good friends today. But Luigi, he had another brand on. He got some aviators that I had, put those on, and told me like 16 different things he didn't like about them. I was like, wow. This is a lot. I'm like, okay, I'm taking notes. No big deal.
Right.
Luigi's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking notes. This feedback you give me is what I need, blah, 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 blah. And some of it was like, okay, yeah, I've heard this. I've heard that. I listen to things, this frame, and, I get that too. I've heard about the frames being ugly and everything else. It didn't bother me because I'm a lens guy. My education about lenses. So we're continuing down that path, and he carried on, put his other stuff back on, and never tried them because that's when I travel. That's my my sales pitch is try them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you buy them or not. My sales pitch is to go shoot with them, see if you like them. That way you can try them before you buy them. And I started doing that from the very beginning, letting people try the glasses before they actually paid for them. And it's pretty successful when people go shoot with them, what they see the difference is. And on the prescription side, my wife thought I was crazy, but now, she understands because I went to her and said, hey, we're going to do the same thing on the prescription. She goes, what do you mean? I said, we're going to make people's prescription up front, send it to them. They're going to get to try it with their prescription before they buy them. She goes, you've lost your mind. I said, we've got doctors that don't pay their bills. I said, shooters are not doctors. This is a whole nother thing altogether. This will work. And to this day, we still do that. And
wow. I did not know that. So that's so cool.
Because nobody wants, it's one of those things. Nobody wants to be that guy that's not going to, shooters are a whole nother family. I've got a whole nother family in the shooting sports. I mean,
Yes.
You knew me when I saw you at the NRA show. I'm talking to somebody else about this. I'm looking over and saying, I think I know her. And you think, I think I know him. We're going back and forth like, I'll be there in a second.
Right. I love that. Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's who you are. So, and that's what's so the joy thing about it is because, being in the shooting sports, which is like 1 to 1.5% of the entire gun industry.
Right.
It's small.
It is.
But the people are loyal in the shooting sports, and they spend a lot of money in the shooting sports.
Yeah.
So anyway, to get back to it, Luigi went on, shot his stage, didn't think anything about it, and I didn't think I'd ever hear from him again. No big deal. The Dupuis, who both were Hunters HD Gold at the time, Bryce and Blaine, they're junior shooters, they were just horrified. Like, I can't believe he went off like that. I said, it's no big deal. This is what I do. It's not a big deal at all. And like a month later, Luigi called me back and goes, hey, he was working for Akai Custom Guns at the time. And he called me up and goes, hey, do me a favor. Those are safety rated, right? I said, yes. They're safety frames and the lenses are ANSI rated as well. He goes, so I can use them in the shop building guns. I said, you sure can.
Ooh, okay.
So I sent him a pair down here for him to try. And ever since then, we've been best friends and everything else. And just a whole nother world has been open to me because of Luigi in the shooting sports in USPSA. And carry on that later on in 2018, I went to my first USPSA Nationals event at the end of 2018. They had the 9 days of Nationals. This was a big deal. I never heard of Nationals. To me, in my mind, it was like the Augusta of golf. This is where every major national champion and world champion is going to be at one place, and it's 9 days long down in Frostproof, Florida. Told my wife I was going, and this is in October, and she goes, you're going to be gone for how long? I said, about 11 or 12 days.
I said, travel.
I said, if I can do this down here, I can do anything. I can go to any match after this. This is a big test because it was basically 3 matches, in one event. So it was just going to be one match 3 days, another match 3 days, another match 3 days. And I found out the staff actually shot before then. So I was there in Frostproof, Florida for the 9 days of Nationals. And that's what got me started with USPSA. And what happened is I found a guy. I found out, I found out how to sponsor and everything else. Jake Martins, I worked with, who still works with USPSA today. And I said, I met him at the match and I said, hey, what can I do about using the logo of USPSA and Steel Challenge on my tent? I would like to use that logo. And other companies, Rimfire Challenge Shooting Association, they'd already worked out a deal where I had their logo on there and everything else. It was all good. I had no problems. And he goes, well, let me get somebody to talk to you and we'll see if that can be done. Didn't think anything else about it. Well, anyway, the president of USPSA at the time, Mike Foley, came and met me. And he goes, hey, I hear you want to use our logo and stuff like that. I said, yeah, this is kind of where I built my brand around the shooting sports. And I got started off in Steel Challenge. And this is my second USPSA event. I think this is something that I can really get behind and support. And I want to help, grow Hunters HD Gold through this sport. And he goes, well, how about being the official eyewear? And I was like, whoa, time out. No, There's a lot of other great companies. Look at the banners down the aisle of wall. There's other eyeglass companies or sunglass companies that are already sponsoring this event. I said, there's a lot of people that's been around a lot longer than me. And Mike said, they've already had the chance and they turned me down. And I said, oh,
Oh,
well. So he overcame that objection pretty quick.
yeah.
And my next objection was, I don't know if I can afford it. I'm just getting
Mm.
started. I don't know, blah, 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 blah. And I gave him another objection. He goes, don't worry about that. We'll work it out and we can do everything in monthly payments as well.
Wow.
Really? Monthly
Right.
payment. Yeah. No money up. No money. All of this not up front and everything else. Get back with Jake. He'll work out the details with you. And you've got my blessing. Let's move forward on this if this is what you want to do. So middle of 9 days of nationals, I'm in freak out mode because now just my little hobby of making a cute little lens that was ugly frames that I enjoyed meeting a lot of cool people was really like, you're talking about, this is big boy stuff now. It's time to, get off the pot or make it happen because this is where you're at right now. There's no turning back. If you do this is yours. And talked to Jake and we went through everything and, starting in January of 2019, I became the official eyewear of USPSA and Steel Challenge. And, didn't know how it was going to go, didn't know anything about it. And it was amazing. And I think I did 30 something matches in 2019. There's an article that's going to be coming out probably by the time this releases, if you're a USPSA member, that's in the USPSA magazine that talks about actual dates and everything else where I got started. I gave him a whole timeline because he came down and visited a lab at Optical Prescription Lab that's getting released. So you can definitely check it out, and it'll be on all the Hunters HD Gold social media platforms as soon as it releases. I'm very proud of it because it's an entire story of all the timelines of just how me being at the right place at the right time is what got this started, and just over a can of wasp spray building the lake. Who would have known? Who
That's
would have
so
known?
incredible. Yeah,
It
I
is.
mean, I heard of you
And
before I really understood USPSA fully. I mean,
yes, and that's another beautiful thing because what we found out, and I'll go back, I'll get to that in a second, which is really cool that you said that. But towards the end of 2019, um, Sherry comes to me and goes, "Are we still going to be doing this?" She gave me the initials. She didn't know all the initials, USPSA, all these other initials that weren't the right ones. Next year, I said, "Yeah, are you good with that?" She goes, "Oh yeah, we're seeing all the referrals coming in from
mm,
USPSA." And and to go back to what you just said, I've become the brand. And that's what's really cool because I didn't really expect that. But doing so much for the shooting sports, because that was only 2 shooting sports at the time, 3 with Rimfire Challenge Shooting Association. Now I'm involved in 16 different shooting sports, and I'm the official eyewear of 4 of them: USPSA, Steel Challenge, Metal Madness, and I just took a total blank. Oh, Single Action Shooting Society that we
oh
just
wow.
released this year. So I became the official. That's what I was proud of the most of
Congratulations.
January of 2023. I got to go back to my roots, and I worked with them for a while, and I finally became the official eyewear of the Single Action Shooting Society as well. And I've got 3 more I'm in the works on right now. So that's my goal, is to be. You think about the shooting sports, then I want you to think about Hunters HD Gold as well, and that's what kind of what got me going and where we're at today as far as the brand got started. But no, we've come a long way from just a 10 by 10 white tent with gray Farnsworth on the back of it. And that's how, there's some pictures out there of that I'll have to send you as well. When I first got started, there was a white tent and my backdrop was gray Farnsworth. She works to this day with Swarovski Optics. I met her at an open house at Steyr Arms, which is located here in Bessemer, Alabama, about, 15 minutes from my house in Pelham. And I met Gray, and I wanted to get her a pair of Hunters HD Gold to go try because she was going out prairie dog hunting out in Wyoming. And of course, she works for Swarovski, so some of the best optics, high end glass optics out there, back at the time that I knew about. And why not get them tested by somebody who's in the optics business as well. And she took a picture of her shooting her rifle with a Swarovski Z8 at the time. It wasn't the I, and wearing Hunter's HD Gold, the caliber in purple, and that was my backdrop. And that told a big story. I was in the shooting sports, but her picture was that backdrop. And it said, well, if she's using an optic that's $3,800 and still wearing Hunter's HD Gold while she's shooting, that's a big story, because she's being able
Absolutely.
to see with, through the Hunter's HD Gold, being able to see through the optics, the game even better. And when I retired that 10 by 10 backdrop, it's actually at Gray's house now. She wanted me to send it to her, and I did. So that I don't have that backdrop anymore, but Gray Farnsworth still got it. We're still close friends today at Swarovski, and it's really neat, because she got involved back to when I was just doing testing. I was like, hey, would you mind testing this, testing that? Back in the early days of, don't know what I've really got. Let's see what happens. So
Absolutely.
but you build these relationships and you find out how really big and small the firearm industry is. And this past year, I sold triple forks hunting after having it for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And everybody asked me, why'd you sell it? I said, well, for the first 5 years in 2013, I was out there every weekend. I did everything. For the last 5 years, my business partner, Lane Evans, he was out there. He was a manager at Verizon Wireless. And when he was off, he was out there at Triple Forks doing all that. I wasn't there the last 5 years because I was running Hunter's HD Gold. And we were out there, sitting up there last year at the end of the year. And we're all at the cabin, just relaxing, sitting out there looking at the lake. And the gentleman who we bought it from came to visit, John Coates. And we're all sitting on the porch looking at it, thinking, man, y'all done a lot with this place over the past 10 years. And I said, yeah, first 5 years, it was my passion. Last 5 years, it's been Lane's passion. And he goes, would you like to sell it? I was like, oof. I was like, I'll never hear anymore, but that's kind of a question, for Lane, because, it's just me and him now. And I don't know. And he looked at it and goes, well, I get you 3 times what you paid for it. And we were like going,
Yeah.
where do we sign?
Right. Absolutely.
And sure enough, we ended up selling it, and both of us at the age of 52 became debt free, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
And we
Congratulations.
both got out, and that's what I've been home this past couple of weeks because Lane was at Verizon, and he'd never had any weekends off ever because he'd been in retail, and I've known him for 30 years. And I just got through hiring Lane because I could afford him because we were both debt free. And he became the new director of operations at Optical Prescription Lab, which was my title. And I became vice president of Optical Prescription Lab. But now I'm training Lane, who's taken over my job at the lab, on daily activities where I don't have to go in there and worry about that anymore, where I can focus now on building building Hunter's HD Gold, Hunter's HD Ruby, and of course, Active Blue, that we haven't even got into yet, of all the other lenses that we're doing. But that's, growth is good. I've got a guy we've hired since the beginning that does my website. I've got, of course, Kenzie Fitzpatrick, a 3-gun Kenzie, who does all my marketing. She does the Hunter's HD Gold Facebook, the Hunter's HD Gold Instagram. And that'll get me back to the story earlier. I said I had to get my own personal Instagram, which is Hunter's HD Gold Behind the Lens is my personal Instagram, because me having control, and Kenzie will attest to this, it's not easy for me to let something go that I created from the very first lens being made for myself, and to give that power over to somebody else. Because I remember on Instagram and social media, Facebook, we didn't have hardly any followers, and it was all, and I said, hey, should we go buy followers? Should we do this, everything else? She goes, absolutely not. You're not going to do none of that. I was like, damn. I said, well, I've been around 4,000 followers and this stuff forever, and it's just not growing.
Right.
She goes, we just got to get the right content. You are not buying followers.
Right.
I'm like, fine, okay, whatever. I wanted to take the easy way out, but we didn't do any of that. But anyway, I'm always looking on Instagram back at the time, and I'm starting to answer people's questions and do that kind of stuff on Instagram, and she got mad at me. So she goes, I can't do my job if I can't see how to do all this myself. So and she changed the password on my Hunter's HD Gold account.
Oh, wow.
And my Facebook account.
Wow.
And she says, "You're getting your own account now, and this is how we're going to do it." So I have released some of that power,
Mm.
and Hunter's HD Gold _ behind the lens is my Instagram account, and I'm growing slowly.
I love that. No, I do understand that. My best friend Lisa, she makes all of the social media content for She Shield, and training her and like turning everything over to her was a very uh I don't know, it was definitely a growth process for me because I love to be in control. Um
I
it was
still don't.
like, oh no, and I feel that way sometimes too, but she does now a better job than I ever did, and
Right.
had I not let her, that go a little bit, she would have never been able to do that. Um and I always tell her to get creative if she has ideas and whatnot, but
Right.
she's still like she's super good at being receptive to feedback, and I give her a bunch of feedback like week to week because my goal is just to like refine the system. But it
Right.
took a lot. I actually can relate to that very much. I mean, I didn't have the product, right? It wasn't a physical product, but
Right.
the podcast name is so near and dear to me. So
Yep.
but I love that you guys get each other and that you work well together like that.
Oh,
That's so lovely.
she's miserable right now because during this 2 weeks I'm off doing a lot of training at the lab.
Mm.
I get more time to hyper focus on things that I don't like.
Oh yes.
She's no, my website guy and Kinsey are both like, "What the hell do you want now?" And it's just ideas because I never stop thinking,
Right,
you
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
and I haven't given up complete control of everything. For an example, if you hit contact us from the website or anything like that, every email comes directly to my phone. Everything,
Okay.
period. Um,
It's a lot
that
of
I'm
responsibility.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many emails I've had today so far, but my point being is I've got 14 now. We've only been doing this an hour,
Whoa.
but my point being is I want to know the temperature of what's going on with the company.
Yes.
Yes, I get some emails, I reply to them, and I get some emails, I forward them to Chris, who's at the lab. I get some now, I forward to Lane, who we just talked about, who I just hired as my director of operations for the lab. But I still want to see everything that comes in because if there's an issue and somebody has a problem, then I can get to that within 2 hours, and the customer service is everything. Because what I've learned through the years of all the places I work for is, got a great product, but it's nothing without customer service.
Mm.
And a lot of companies that I mentioned earlier that I've worked for in the past aren't here anymore because some of those companies did not have the customer service philosophy. And that's what we've got behind Hunter's HD Gold. I mean, who actually makes a lens on a prescription that you get to try it before you buy it? It doesn't. Nobody does
Never
that.
heard of that.
We're
Yeah.
still doing it, and it still blows people's mind. And when I go to matches, I'm still doing demos out there. When people come see me at a match, they go, "How's your match going?" Or "How's the event going for you?" And there's 20 pairs of glasses missing off your display. We use. Everybody now knows they'll walk up and see a bunch of them gone, saying, "It's been a good match for you." I said, "Yeah." There's a lot of new shooters that are coming into the shooting sports every single day. And that's one
Absolutely.
thing I had a conversation with Jake, and we can, you can cut this in one podcast. We can keep going. But my point being is I talked to Jake when I became official eyewear, and it was into it again. And I've got first right of refusal every year, going into this. And I said, Jake, what's going to happen in, 2 or 3 years? And everybody's already made their decision. Either they're going to wear it or I'm not. Because there's some people out there that still don't wear it for their own personal reasons. And that's I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
It's still about education. He goes, that's the best thing about the shooting sports. Every 2 to 3 to 4 years, new people come in and old people get out.
Mm-hmm.
I said, really? He goes, it's a hobby, and people have their hobby dollars where they want to put it at, and things affect that. And that's what we're seeing. I'm seeing people come in now. The shooting sports is growing like crazy, and it's not just USPSA and Steel Challenge. It's all of them. They're all growing like crazy. All these major events are selling out, within seconds, and state championships, everything's extremely good in the shooting sports. And, you know, getting back to what we talked about earlier, with just starting off with a 10 by 10 white tent, and to what we have today is just a whole nother story amongst itself that we'll get into, because when I first got started, I pay attention to what's going on in the shooting sports. And when I started traveling around, I noticed if somebody ever had a gun break, for an example, there was always somebody there to loan them a gun. There was always somebody there to keep them in the match. There was always, if your gun breaks in a match, you don't have a backup, there's somebody there that's going to step up and say, hey, use my backup gun, use this, use that. Well, I started paying attention to that, and I had one table in the front with the displays of glasses, and that was it. So I added another table, and I started buying guns for my own. There's another reason to buy guns, and I started buying and just put them on a table, and people would look at them. And I went to a match in Arkansas. I think I had 3 guns out there. I think just a basic, 10-22, just some basic stuff to a rimfire match I was going to. And I met a gentleman named Billy Striplin, who owns Striplin Custom Gun Works. And he goes, you're actually, got a gun out here? I said, yeah, I've got a couple of my own personal guns. If anybody has a gun that breaks, they can use it or something like that. And he goes, oh, that's kind of nice. That's cool. He goes, what if I build you a gun? I said, what do you mean? He goes, I want to build you a Hunter's HD Gold custom gun.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, have credit card, will travel. Just let me know when you need some money. He goes, okay. Didn't think anything else about it. And he built this rifle for me. It's a Buckmark rifle, but they come with a wood stock and everything else, but there's nothing wooden about it. It's all metalled out. It looks like a futuristic gun, and it's all, been Cerakoted and has Hunter's HD Gold on it and everything else. And I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. And he presented it to me, at a match. I was like, oh, man, this is so nice. He goes, well, you're just out supporting the shooting sports, I go, how much I owe you? He goes, I'm not going to charge anything, but when you get rid of it or you get tired of it, just give it back to me. I said, deal. So I started had an extra gun to go around with, a rifle. And then people were using this gun because it was I'm not sure, a retail for over $2,000. For a rimfire rifle gun, that's a lot. But used in competition, but it had it where you can use it in optics or an iron sight. So it's actually 2 divisions of a gun that you could use. And I loaned that gun out all the time because nobody was able to, see one all the time based on me traveling all around. And, needless to say, that gun, it ran flawlessly and ended up through that. Billy Striplin sold a lot of guns. I mean, a lot. I had one guy down in an OK Gun Corral. I'll never forget it. I was down there for a state championship, and a gentleman from Ecuador came up to me, and he wanted to buy it for his grandkids. And I said, no, I can't sell. This is my personal gun. And he offered me just like, it was over $3,000 for it. I'm like, no, this is my personal gun. I turned him down. And, he walked away. And later on, another guy come up, and he was an FFL out of Miami. And he said, the gentleman that's wanting to buy this is legit. It's going to be an FFL transfer. It's not nothing. He's really wanting to buy it. He wants it for his grandkids. And he said, make him a price. He'll pay anything for it to take it back home. And I said, I can't do that. I said, however, I can give you Billy Striplin's cell phone number. You can call this guy personally and get one, and it'd be done. This is my gun that was made for me. And he ended up calling Billy and ordered 2 of them for the price he was offering me for one. Oh. So he ended up buying 2 of them. And,
lovely.
And, stuff like that happens. And all of a sudden, other gun manufacturers, I've traveled around, I meet all these people. Hey, can I make you a gun here to put on your table? I'm like going, sure.
Right.
And some people, I did one with a Kai Custom Guns with Shay, and I helped cover some of the cost on some of that because he's a small business, and a lot of the guns, I ended up buying it. I didn't mind paying for them. If it's something I wanted, I didn't care. I go to manufacturers and say, hey, make me a custom gun and they say, what do you want on it? I said, I don't care. I like the big reveal. Hunter's HD Gold is the brand. You do what you want to. And they would say, you don't want, I said, you make me a gun for what you want people to see, what you're doing, what sets you different than everybody else. What do you want people to see? And, I get these big reveals, and people, get a gun. I pay for it, and we do the transfer. It gets sent to my FFL. I have to pick it up, and that's how we do it. And I think at one time I had like 9 guns on the table. I ended up with going back to and everything else. And then when you start having guns on the table, then that's like a whole nother reason for people to come see what you're talking about, what you got going on. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, I've got something going on here because, yeah, I'm loaning these guns out. I ain't got a problem with that. It's a pain in the rear end cleaning them all the damn time. That
Right.
sucks. I didn't want to do that. But then, then I get somebody, when's the last time you cleaned it? I said, yeah, have fun with that.
Right.
I said, yes, it runs, and it runs like a scalded dog. And that,
Right.
they have no, and people, I started helping people out that, if they had a gun go down, or if they said, hey, I've never shot that gun. Here's the mags, go shoot it. They shoot that gun in competition. I can use their own gun in competition. And that became huge. And I started putting all this stuff together. Okay, you're becoming a part of the shooting sports. And what I mean by that is people are starting to send people to me to go, hey, go see Brian. He's got what you need. He's got extra mags. He's got the guns you need. He's got a thing over there to, for springs. He's got other things that can help you get back in the match. And I started helping people. I'm like going, wow, this is huge. And it became just a whole other thing I was known for. I didn't think anything about it. And then I started buying guns. I mean, it didn't matter if I met, somebody at a match and they were a gun builder. I'm like going, I talked to Greg at Kassan Arms and I'd be like, hey, I like that. He goes, what do you want? I said, I want that in 38 Super Comp. He goes,
Ooh.
I've never made one of those. I was like, yep. And I got people at Ely that could get me the ammunition that ain't got to worry about reloading ammunition. I want that gun in 38 Super Comp. And it's used in major power factor in USPSA. So, it's amazing what has happened because of just doing that. And I started traveling around with these guns and everything else, putting cases in the back. And I'm like going, all right, I've got a 2018, GMC Denali that's starting to fill up, starting to get pretty full. And I'm like going, I just keep adding more to the fun and everything else. And I'm starting to carry, I met, at the time I was working with Guga Rebus. I met Guga down in Brazil. He had me a bunch of holsters that I was traveling with and everything else. And I had stuff of him, if people needed a holster, I started working with, GX, EGX products, Leif Kunkel out of Kentucky, who made holsters. I had some of his holsters. So you'd be surprised how many people have gone to matches and leave their entire rig or a holster at home. And I'm having this stuff for them to keep them in a match. And it just keeps adding up, keeps adding up, keeps adding up. Well, I told you before about Luigi. And we're still, like I said, personal friends. I'm at his house. I'm down in Florida a lot during the winter because 2 reasons. One, I love seafood, and 2, I hate cold weather. So, but so I'm down there at Luigi's place, and I see that he's got this big Sprinter van, and I said, if she ever decides to get rid of this van, let me know. I've got plans for the future. He goes, all right, that'll work. And didn't think anything else about it. And then around COVID, right before COVID happened, I think I was at SHOT Show 2020, I think, when everything started happening, shut down soon after that. And Luigi calls me up and goes, she's ready to sell it. I'm like, oh, God, not ready to invest this much money, blah, 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 blah. And Luigi gave me a price and goes, no, I've got it down to this. I'm like going, what's wrong with it? He goes, well, nothing, it's used for this, this, and this, but it's got a lot of, stuff that's got to be done to it. And you're going to strip everything out anyway. I was like, yep, that's true. So I got this 2014 Sprinter van that's got, put all the seats were taken out. What happened is they used this Sprinter van because they showed Great Danes. And she would travel all around showing all these Great Danes throughout the United States and breeding them and everything else.
Yeah.
So it had 4 big cages in the back. It's, a 15 passenger van. So he put the seats back in there. They'd never been used, everything, and he got the van and everything else. So I've got the van now and I'm trying to decide, okay, what are we going to do? I know what I got. My plan is everything else. So needless to say, I built this entire Sprinter van out. I took it to a guy. This is a funny story. I took it to there's a place in Bessemer, Alabama. I've said that again. There's a lot of history in Bessemer, Alabama. But I took it to this guy who does a lot of RV conversions for a lot of the country music stars and everything else. And this van's in really great condition. It's 2014. And I took it to him and told him what I want. I had it built out in the back with slat wall and everything else. And I want to put, area to sit down up in front, have seats in and, table for people to sit up there and relax in the front part. He's all right. He quoted me $101,000. And I was like, no, not going to happen. He goes, well, it's a brand new van. I said, no, it just looks that way because they kept it good. It's a 2014 and this is back in 2020. He goes, oh, good Lord. He goes, yeah. And he gave me, and he was very nice. And we still talk because he saw what I did to it. He was amazed what we did to it. But so anyway, I found an electrician, a carpenter, and just another guy, and we had it built out to a quarter of that price, less than a quarter of that price.
Good deal.
And we put slat wall back in the back. Okay. We're using real wood. We ripped out all the seats in the entire thing. I think I spent $6,000 just on the seats in the front, the 4 seats. I wanted the seats that swivel, that recline, have heaters, and and massagers and everything. Buy once, cry once.
Oh, kind of thing. Very nice. Okay. Was this at Nationals, by the way?
No. Yes,
this was. Yeah, man, I regret not seeing it. Now I look forward to seeing it.
You were rushed because you were doing stuff with Shoot Sig and everything else. That's fine.
Very busy there.
It was all, my whole display now is over 50 feet long of everything I do. But the funny thing is, I said, what do you want to do up front? I said, I just want an area where people can go hang out up front and everything else. And we're looking, I couldn't find a table. I was like going, all these RV tables are so cheap, blah, 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 blah. That's horrible. Mm-hmm. So I looked on a yacht website and I found a table. And the table that's in the middle of the van up front is actually one off a yacht that moves around and has things where it don't slide and stuff. So
nice.
You need a good table for your indoor recreation. There's a yacht store out there. We can go buy tables. They're a little bit more expensive, but they're not flimsy and it's very sturdy and it lasts forever. So I put a yacht table in there, and I put a humidor in there with cigars and, certain ranges that allow it. There's a bar in there where we'll have adult beverages and stuff like that after matches if the range allows it. And it just became a place for people to hang out. It was a whole just a whole nother show of just things going on. And then I won't forget who I was talking to. It was, Nils Johansson.
Yes.
He's for Canic. And I was talking to his wife, Jessica. And I said, Jessica, with all the stuff I do behind the scenes, I ought to start a podcast. She goes, you've got to do a podcast. So all the people you've met and everything else, that would be amazing because there's a lot of stuff. It's a curse because a lot of people that come talk to me about different things in the shooting sports that's going on, good, bad. I get involved in all kinds of stuff, people's opinions and everything else. I became like a therapist for people dealing in the shootold sports. It's a whole other story. But it's a lot of fun to be able to just sit back and business like, let's talk through this process. And I told Jessica, Nils' wife, I said, that'd be cool. We call it Hunters HD Gold Behind the Lens. And she goes, oh my gosh, that's it. And I was just kidding. I was like going, I'm always behind the lens. That's just where I came up with that from. So get online. Me at that point, it's like wanting a website. Where do you go? Behind the lens. And there's all kind of stuff out there. This might be trademarked, this might be that. But if I use Hunters HD Gold Behind the Lens all together, we'll play with that as long as we can. And to this date, we've had no issues out of that name. And we started doing a podcast. And it all started off just as an audio podcast. And on the first, I'm on season 4. Yeah, the first 2 seasons are just audio only. And it was amazing just to be able to talk to people behind the scenes and behind the lens. And just, I wanted to find out what individuals are about, what got you started. My podcast usually starts off the same, what even got you started pulling the trigger on anything. And besides that question, that's pretty much the only thing that's going to be normal on the podcast, because for the first, I told my mom about this when I told her I was doing it and everything else. And she's like, "You're doing what?" And she's like, "You've lost your mind." And I didn't know what I was doing either. No, I had a guy I talked to, Dustin Sanchez, who works at JP and also Real Avid. And he is a personal friend of mine. And he was helping me do the show and get started, everything else. And I said, "Hey, I want to buy once, cry once on all this stuff. I want the best board I can get. I want the best headsets I can get, because I want to have the great quality. I don't want to be doing this where I'm going to be, everybody goes, 'Man, this is great,' and I didn't want to do that. So
No, your
I'm
audio is
investing all this.
incredible.
Sherry's, my wife, is, going nuts because I'm still just, making money to spend money to make money. And she's like, 'I don't understand what you're doing either.' And I said, 'I don't either, but I'm going to try it. This is what's going on.' And Dustin gave me the courage to do this, when it really putting paper on, getting everything started and everything else. He's the one that gave me the courage to really start, to do this, make it happen. And it's neat because, like I said, talking to my mom, the first 30 or 45 minutes is about that individual. And
It is, yeah.
we don't even talk about the shooting sports. We just talk about. I've had so many shows get started. Well, they'll start talking and try to talk about this, and I say, whoa, take me back, because we're going to get to that in a second. I got to get back to the beginning of what made you even go down this road. And season 2, episode 1, is an episode that I'll never forget that I did with a lady, and I was at an IDPA match. And she had told me, somebody says, "You need to do a podcast with her." And I said, "Okay." And I'm not going to tell you who it was. I want you to go find it. And I talked to her, and she goes, "I've never done a show on this." I said, "Well, somebody told me you were a good person to talk to." She goes, "Yeah, I didn't care for guns. I was far left, and my house was broken into, and my husband was attacked. And I got the 911 recording."
Wow.
And I said, "Oh, you want to talk about this?" She goes, "I do now with you." And we got on the show, and thanks to this great board that I had, I pulled up a 911 call on my phone, typed it into the board, and we started talking a little bit, and she relived that event during the podcast.
Wow. Okay.
It was more powerful to me than it was her, because she'd heard it before. When I told her, when she said she had that, I said, "Don't tell me nothing else. Let's go to the van." This is where I give you, here comes the candy. Let's go hang out.
Yes, absolutely.
It was very intense at that point that
Yeah.
we're fixing to go do this right now. This is fixed. I don't want to know a single thing about you. This is where we're going to go. And we did that show. And that's when there's a lot of great shows in season 1. Don't get me wrong. But in season 2, when it kicked in, and I started getting a more flow to calm down and breathe during a conversation, just like me and you were talking today. That's why I told you before, when do we get a list of questions or anything? No, I don't want any of that, because it's just going to throw me off my game, because me worried about how to answer it correctly.
Right.
I just want to have a
That
conversation.
like that.
And this is why we're all over the place. And I apologize to your listeners and viewers, because we're all over the place, but this is just how my show is as well. But we did a show with Catherine, and when that show got through, we were both in, almost tears. And I stopped the show, and I said, "Are you okay?" She goes, "I'm wonderful. I've never been able to talk to about like that before."
Oh.
And I was in a situation of like, okay. And it's funny, this by doing podcast yourself. As soon as you hit the stop record button, and you're away from the screen or away from the computer, and you go, "Damn, I can't wait till that releases. That's going to be a good show."
Mm-hmm.
And you don't get to say it about all of them. They're all good shows. They're all great shows. But those shows, like I did with JJ, you walk away from, and you got hair, it's like,
yes,
I can't wait till that drops, if his wife allows it.
A good feeling. Yes, if she allows it, yeah.
If she allows it, I can't wait for people to hear this. And I became addicted to learning more about people. because that's all I've ever done since I was 20 years old, is sell, learn about people at a certain level so I could in, invest the time to find the right product for them to invest their money with. And to go where this is all going back to is when you said you've become the brand of Hunters HD Gold, is through this whole process of what we've done to build relationships with people. I've had people say, this lens is great. I don't know if it, whatever it does different for me or not, but I like you and I'm going to wear it. I'm like going, well, don't do that if you don't like it. They're like, no, I like it. I just don't see all the advantages. And that's why we came out with different lens colors, because, Hunters HD Gold is not for everybody. And we came out with Hunters HD Ruby for shotgunners initially, was what that was designed for. And then we came out with Active Blue.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I did all this by listening to shooters and also listening to people outside the shooting sports. But, to get back, we'll get to that in a second, but just to get back to the podcast, it's become just a passion of, I've had people come to me and go, hey, I want to be on your show. I'm like going, okay, but I'm not motivated to do that because they're wanting to do it for themselves, which to me is not really what I'm about. There's a selfish level at that point of why am I giving this person a platform, which means if somebody comes to me saying, I want to do your show, that means I got to go do research now and find out why this person wants to do my show. And then if you do enough research, you find out, okay, they may be wanting a platform to talk about this because they're not happy with how this is working on this shooting sport. They want to promote this because they're going to be running for this office and this shooting sport. And that's not what I'm all about. And I politely decline.
Yes.
And people are like, I'm saying, I want to do a show with you, but now's not the right time. And that's usually how I say that, because it's not.
Yes.
Because they're coming to me wanting to sell something. Which everybody has something they want to sell. There's nothing wrong with that. I do it every day. I do it every weekend.
Right. But yeah.
Having something to where I'm in the right side of mind to go, hey, are you shooting AM, PM, PM, AM on a multi-match? And they're going like this. How would you like to sit down and do a show? When they go, oh, yeah, I can make time for that. That's the ones you want to get a hold of and talk to, because they're not prepared. And I'm not prepared because I like Nils. I wanted to sit down with Nils because I'm a huge fan. I love him and his family, and I can't wait to hear his story. And I wanted to hear his story about how he got started and everything else. And if I find it enjoyable, I figure other people will as well. And it's been a huge success based on people getting a little insight of what's going on. Because we'll go back to the one I did with JJ. Still one of the best podcasts in my opinion, and there's other people that say there's other ones out there that are even better, but so many people knew JJ. And I was at Dragons Cup and I knew he was there early. We're hanging out in Odessa, Texas, which is like hell on earth anyway, because it's Odessa, Texas. And I love Marco Davis to death and all the guys out there. Look, I can't wait to Dragons Cup 4 in April. But I'm there. I said, JJ, I'd love to sit down with you. I don't know your story. We've always become friends. We've been friends for a long time. Let me tell you something about JJ. I told JJ about wanting to wear Hunters HD Gold. And he kept saying, no, I'm good right now and everything else. And his dad ended up wearing, his dad started wearing the lens before JJ did. And JJ finally came to me one day and goes, Brian, we have such a great relationship as friends that I don't want to hurt that if I'm not wearing your lens. I said, JJ, I don't give a damn if you wear it or not. I just want you to try it and get your feedback. And if you like it, blah, blah, blah. Because I know Marco and all the guys have been giving them hell because he don't wear it and they're all wearing it. So he hears it all the time. And that's how, that's how good of a person JJ is. He does it. He didn't want to risk a friendship over a chance that he may not like a product. And, that means more to me than any lens I could have, that somebody values our friendship that much. And it's funny because we sat down and did the show and we talked a little bit about that during the show. And we got through with that show and he's looking out the side of the window at the van, looking outside. And I said, what's wrong? He goes, I think I've talked to you about some stuff that I never even talked to my wife about. I was like, uh-oh.
Okay.
I was like, wow. And and that was neat. And he ended up doing, I think, 2 more shows after that with other people, another podcast, and they kept referring back to my podcast. And
I mean, yeah.
that was a really neat thing of how that worked. And now I'll see JJ. He'll come find me at all the matches we go to because we talk all the time. And he's sponsored and doing great with Beretta. And he'll go, I'm not doing your show right now. I said, it's not time, JJ. We got plenty of time for
Right.
that. Because he knows,
Yeah.
he goes, I tell you more than I tell anybody else. I don't know if I can do your show again. I said, that's no problem. And
Just
it's a running
opened him
joke that
right
we
up.
have all the time. But
Oh, that's so sweet. It is a
to be
great
able to
episode.
have, the relationships that we build in the shooting sports with, just like I talked about earlier when I brought up Augusta, when I first went to nationals, like this is the biggest event of the year. This is it. I'm hanging around the best shooters in the world. And if they wear Hunter's HD Gold or not, I don't care. I'm still able to shake their hand and say, man, how you doing? How's the family doing? Because we know them. And that's a cool place for me to be in. And that's what gives me so much pride in what I'm doing and to support the shooting sports. And that's become my passion now because I thought I was a big 2A guy before. And this is back when I had the hunting property and Obama was president and everything was going crazy. And I thought I was a big 2A guy. Like, okay, I'm, freedom, firearms, everything, but to now be in a situation and you've heard me say this before, I feel that the shooting sports is very crucial to the growth of the power of the Second Amendment because we know we have our right to hunt. We know we have our right to protect ourselves, but how much more freedom do we have to go out there and use that firearm for sport? And in different sports, to learn how to use your firearm more, be more effective how to use it, know how to take it out of the holster and in the holster quickly based on current events that we just saw the other day. And it makes people better shooters and makes people better to handle pressure. And now I'm working with a lot of trainers, working with a lot of people that are doing a lot of stuff with the LE, trying to get more people moved over to the shooting sports. Because I have a lot of people ask all the time, you would think there'd be a lot of police officers and law enforcement of all kinds in the shooting sports, and they're not. And
Yeah.
they'll go to a match and they'll get beat by a 13-year-old girl or a 27-year-old woman and get real insecure real quick because their job requires them to carry a gun and they realize how proficient they're not. And
Absolutely.
that's the level we're having to overcome. And there's some great trainers out there, like the Ben Stagers of the world, and the other guy that does a lot with Mike Seeklander, and all these people that are doing trainings now with people that are in the military and law enforcement based on their knowledge of the shooting sports and getting more people involved in the shooting sports. And that's why I do all these live events on Rumble to promote the shooting sports. And because, when you first see it, yes, you watch Shooting USA, John Scouten and I are close, and you watch the nationals on stuff like that, and it's amazing to see what's going on. And you don't realize that it's happening in your backyard in Talladega, Alabama. Once a year, there's a major event here, and the local news people aren't talking about it either. And I'm doing a lot to work towards that. We had the Nationals World Speed Shooting Championship in Talladega this year. And I went to a local radio station talking to one of the guys about it. And I said, I don't know what it costs to advertise. I can't do it this year. It's too quick. But you need to make some mention about the Talladega Civilian Marksmanship Park. There's fixing to be some of the fastest shooters in the world that are in Alabama for the next week.
Oh,
And
wow.
he was taken back. And he actually came out there from the talk radio station and investigated it to see. And he said, next year, we're going to do something about this. I don't know. That's a wonderful thing because the talk radio, 99.5 here in Alabama, it's a very conservative, gun loving radio station. That's a lot of talk. And you gotta keep moving forward. And now I'm involved with DC Project, which is now called the Women for Gun Rights, I think, with Dana Muller. I saw her. She's at the RNC this weekend. Girl and a Gun. All the different places out there. Shoot Sig, where I saw you at. Now involved in so much more to help, promote the shooting sports through all these other great and wonderful organizations that are doing more based on time than I can even get a hold of. But my little niche where I'm at is the shooting sports, and that's how we even met, and doing what we do, because there's a market for this to reach a lot of people. And with all the new women and minorities that are coming in to be gun owners, hell, I'm going to be in August. I'm going to be at Guns Out TV Range Day for 2 days.
Oh, fun.
I can't wait, because some of those people I met at Staccato last year are going to be there, and John Keys and Shermichael. I love it, because I only watch CNN to know when he's going to be on, because he'll be on there with 5 other people. He starts talking in ways about the Second Amendment or something like that, and the other 5 people don't even have a clue what he's saying, and it's amazing to watch what happens on CNN. But Shermichael and John Keys and all these other wonderful people I met from Twista. He wears, Hunter's HD Gold now, and I met him, the gun drummer. They did their concert. They're both wearing Hunter's HD Gold lenses. It's the people I've met through the shooting sports has just been amazing. And what's taken me so far in this industry is I just keep opening doors. I had the gentleman who owns Howitzer Clothing came up to me at Carry Optics Nationals, and I was talking to him, and he saw I was wearing Travis Matthews and everything. He said, "What are you doing your clothing line?" I said, "I'm looking for getting involved in some kind of clothing line. I'd love to have a nice high-end clothing line for a high-end pair of lenses." He goes, "We need to talk." So I had a meeting with him.
Oh, yeah.
2 weeks ago. So we're going to start doing some stuff with
Exciting.
Howitzer in the future. And it's just based on me saying, sure. Hey,
Right.
just like it started. Do you mind if I make you a custom rifle? I still remember the conversation with Billy Strippin, like we talked about earlier. I'm like, sure. I don't know what it means, but yeah, let's do it. And that's how we've gotten where we're at. And on season 3 and 4 of Hunter's HD Go, behind the lens, we added a camera. So, now you can see the people I'm talking to. And my wife listened to the show one day, and she goes, and she was funny. She picked out a couple of shows. She goes, is it required that they're going to cry on your podcast? I'm like, no, it's very odd and it's very weird, but I'm in a place where I'm able to really find out some really great things about individuals that are gun owners. And that's amazing to me that people have entrusted me with that. And with that comes, like I talked about earlier, it's a huge responsibility. I've had people ask me to be on the board of directors for this organization. I've had people ask me to be an area director in USPSA. I've even had people ask me to run for president and manage all this kind of, and like, no, I can't. I don't have enough. If that's not my, I can't do it. And it's flattering. I've been invited to a lot of high-end things to do in the gun industry. It's not my time. My calling is still the shooting sports. And, talking about listening to shooters and being able to talk what people want. That's how we came up with Hunter's HD Ruby. I dabbed a little bit in the shotgun industry and made them a lens that would be, I found out that 2 lenses that are used in the shotgun world is a rose color and a purple color for when it rains, and rose for when it's really bright outside. And Hunter's HD Ruby changes from a light ruby color to a dark royal ruby color, which gives you this on the UV spectrum. The way we did it on the UVs, it's the same lens UV blockage, or what allows light through when it's raining or when the sun's out. So it allows for the same kind of contrast, and it makes green mute out, and it makes those orange clays look like they're on fire. So that, and I've stepped away from the shotgun sports right now because I haven't had a frame yet for them. Now, listening, like we talked about earlier in the show, that frames, all the frames we have are, were never quite unquote, for lack of a better word, sexy. But as you see now yourself with some of the stuff we have, we've changed a lot by listening to shooters. And now I've got frame manufacturers that are listening to me as well for making product. That's a huge, huge thing. Vortex just came out with a sunglass line probably a month ago. And Ruben calls me, says, Brian, we need to talk. I was like, this don't sound good. He's like, well, we're coming out with a sunglass line. And I don't know what it's going to mean because I've been sponsored by Vortex forever. Every one of the
Right.
custom guns I have in the van now, all have Vortex optics on them, and we've had a great relationship with Vortex because their customer service is second to none, in my opinion, and that's how I want to see Hunters HD Gold. So I thought it was a great partnership. But Vortex, Ruben calls me up, says what he's doing, and everything else, and first thing out of my mouth is like, "Thank God! I can't believe it. It's about time." He's like, "You're not upset about this?" I said, "Hell no!" I said, "I
Right.
want people to buy your frames and then get my lenses and put my lenses in them." And he goes, "Oh, okay." So we actually are doing something right now where I'm doing this just at matches I travel to. We're testing it out, and it's been huge so far. But I've actually got Vortex frames with Hunter's HD Gold lenses in them already at matches I'm traveling to. So we're doing a test market
How
right now,
exciting. That's
and
awesome.
it's a $50 upcharge from
Hmm.
what the price normally is. But those prices, the MSRP of the Vortex frame online is $179,
I haven't
and
seen them yet. I kind of want to
it's
see what
on
they look like.
sale. I think you get them on sale for like 129 or something like that. So a $50 upcharge is not a big deal compared to actually having to buy them
Hmm.
at full price. So we're doing some testing right now, but there's another relationship that we've built with Vortex. And, when they first came out with the Hunters HD, when they came out with the Vortex sunglass line, they had comments, on the release. And every time I saw a contact, it says, "Are these available in prescription?" I'd send it to Ruben and say, "I got your future plans for prescription," because what we can do in the future, and this is something we talked about, but as it not out the public yet, hopefully one day we're going to get it nailed down between Ruben and Seamus, where Optical Prescription Lab will be the prescription provider for Vortex sunglasses. So I'm in the process now of matching up their gold, their amber, blue, and smoke
Mm.
and mirrored and match it up to send it back to them so we can talk about what that's going to look like moving forward. So there's a little
Ooh,
exclusive for you that may be happening one day. So
how exciting.
it's
Yeah, I like their frames,
yeah,
actually.
I mean
The
they're a
Banshee
little bit
ones.
larger. They're a little bit larger because
Okay.
so one thing we found out so far is that if you have a larger head, they're really good for that, which has been huge because I've only got a couple of frames that have been out there like the Gauge and the Aviator for larger heads,
Mm.
but these are a larger frame, which has been good for that. That's feedback that I've given them as well. But it was funny because I got all these frames. I ordered a bunch of frames and everything, and all of a sudden I take out all their lenses and I send them back to them, and I put them on Ruben's desk, and Ruben's like, "What are these for?" He's like, "Warranty exchange. Somebody has a scratched lens. Here's some free lenses for you. I don't need them. They're just gonna go in the trash can." He's like, "Oh, this is good." So he put them all through the warranty department. So I'm getting their frames, taking out their lenses, and sending them back to them so they can use the lenses for warranty replacement if they need to. So
That's awesome. No, that's very cool.
it's
I
a
think
lot of neat things. But Ruby, we came out with listening to shooters, and then we found out by making the green mute and the orange light up on like it's on fire that a lot of people liked it for carry optics or open with the red dot. And that was a huge thing. I didn't plan on that one. And it caused some problems
mm,
because people were expected to be the same as Hunter's HD Gold. And it's not. It's a total different lens. But if you're in Odessa, Texas, if you're in Utah, Arizona, Florida, where it's extremely, extremely bright,
mhm.
and the gold may be too bright for you, the ruby works great with a red dot. It makes that red dot. You actually have to turn the red dot down, and
Oh,
that which
wow.
by doing that gives you longer battery life. So that's been a huge play for us, and we haven't done a lot with the shotgun world because I'm developing a shotgun frame. So I'm any good salesman or any good businessman looks at what their competition's doing and watches their competition and what's the features about the competition is doing so you can take from that and make yourself better. And we're looking at a lot of other shotgun frames that are out there right now and working with a company out of Colorado that is working with a company out of Taiwan. If everything goes as planned, when we get back in the shotgun world, we're going to have a frame and a lens that's going to hurt feelings in that competition world. So it's going to be fun.
How
So it's
exciting.
fun.
The
Go
frame's
ahead.
so different. What makes the frame so different for shotgun?
They've done a lot of good jobs with their marketing. And let me just tell
Okay.
you what I mean by that.
Okay.
There's a lot of lens and not much frame. There's a lot of single
Mm,
piece lenses out there. I can't do single
yes.
face shields. All those single face shields are all made with polycarbonate, and they can't be made in Trivex. Trivex is still what makes me different than everybody else on top of 6 other things we haven't even talked about yet. Well, we talked about the photochromic, but the stuff we do is what really makes our lens different. So I looked into getting a single face shield made for that shotgun world, but I contacted people that made Trivex, PPG Industries, and they won't sell that as an injection molding, which is what everybody is using it for, because it's actually Trivex is used on military glass that is in airplanes and other things like that in the military. So I can't get it, which is great because that means nobody else can get it either. So in the shotgun world, we're working on a lens that is 2 lenses very close together with a very thin frame to give the appearance of being one lens through the bridge of the
Okay.
nose. And that's going to be huge because with the Tribex we talked about, and then coming out there having a prescription pair of shooting glasses in the shotgun world that's $375 compared to 3 times that much by the leader in the shotgun world, you're going to be able to buy 2 or 3 pairs for the price of the competition. So it's going to be a game
Wow.
changer when it comes to
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And that's going to that'll turn that industry upside down for sure. And it's going to be going once again, getting there. Well, I've actually talked to a lot of shotgunners, and they think that because mine's cheaper, it's not better because
Mm,
mentally more expensive means better.
right.
No, it's just the major leader in the shotgun world is having to go through 2 different manufacturers to get it made, and I am the manufacturer. So we're skipping that first level of markup, and then we're skipping that next level of 30%, 40% markup to the end user. So
Wow. How
having a
exciting.
lab where I can do all this myself, I get to roll out cheaper
Helpful.
prices because if you go to some of the leaders in the shotgun world with prescriptions and everything else, and they're usually most of those are inserts, you're looking at $2,800 to $3,000 at the high end.
Wow.
And when I'm going to be walking in there at 375 with a slogan that my wife came up with, they change so you don't have to. It's going to be a game changer. That's a whole other story. I went to the NRA show in Atlanta just to look at slogans, trying to come up with a slogan for Hunter's HD Gold. I'm looking at all these different companies and everything else. And I told Sherry what my ideas were. And I think I was driving back from Atlanta somewhere between Anniston and Oxford. And I gave her all my ideas. And she goes, "Well, I got it." I said, "What?" She goes, "They changed so you don't have to." I was like going, "This is why you own the company."
I love that.
And that's what's written across the bottom of right there.
Yep. Oh,
They
yeah.
changed so you don't have to. And that's our trademark with our slogan. And that was a direct jab at the other companies out there where based on the
Mm.
lighting, you got to go change your lenses out. You don't have to.
Oh,
There's
okay.
HD
I'm
Gold. You
learning
can wear
so
them.
much.
You can wear them at 3 o'clock in the morning going to the range early. When the sun comes out, the lenses are going to get darker. If it starts raining or cloud cover comes in, they're going to get darker or lighter based on the sun and based on the UV. Getting even higher the UV gets, the darker they get. And it's based on the lighting that you need to see with, because the technology we use is a true 360 degrees technology of
Mm.
the photochromic. Because I've had people call me, you've seen this, you wear your hat the same way, where it's down low and curved bill.
Yes.
I've had a customer call me and say, the corner of my lens is not changing. Everything else is. I think something's broke. And this is why I check all my emails. And I replied to them, how do you wear your hat with a bill pointed down so tight? They're like, how'd you know that? I said, it's covering the sun from that part of the lens being able to change. They're
Right.
like, holy cow. So that's the kind of technology we put in there to the
Yeah.
lenses. And, you can go to your doctor's office and we've got stuff listed on the website of everything we do to the lens almost. And you can go to your doctor and say, hey, I want this, I want this, I want the AR coating, I want the photochromic, I want Trivex, I want a progressive lens, I want Oh, well, just use this yellow dye because they're not going to know what medical dye it is. And then when you get to that point, they're going to go, okay, that's $550, and that's without a prescription.
Yep, that makes total sense.
So, and then when you add a prescription on top of it, that can be
Mm-hmm.
anywhere from $500 to $1,200, $1,500 really quick, and we're still
Yes.
$375. So, a lot of people don't want to talk about pricing stuff on their, shows and stuff like that with their products,
Right.
but I'm not scared of that price because I know what it does and I know what it is. And when you start studying Trivex, you start studying, we're on photochromic generation number 9 now. So these are not the same photochromics that you wore back in the 90s. These photochromics change. You can wear these indoors, outdoors. You can be in bright, complete sunlight, walk into your garage, just like Steve Anderson says, and keep them on. You actually, the biggest compliment I get of these is people say all the time, I forget I'm wearing them. And
Mm-hmm.
they block blue light better than anything else out there. So I haven't wore clear lenses, and I wear prescription. I haven't worn clear prescription lenses in over 7 years now. I'm
Yeah.
at the range. I make a big joke about it. I always go, yeah, if you see me walking and all of a sudden walking down the range and fall over and pass out and I'm not living anymore, it's time to take the lenses off.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I wrote you today and said we should wear our glasses, and you're like, "Well, I'm already wearing mine." So,
Yeah, I'm wearing
no, I
mine.
love that.
And, and so I'm looking forward to going back to the shotgun world at some point because with Diana Muller, who does 3Gun, and all the other great people that I've become associated with the SSFF and all the stuff I do with that organization, there's just so much more out there that I can do with the shooting sports. And then we came out with another lens just this year made for everything off the range called Active Blue.
Oh
And
yeah.
indoors, it's a light sapphire color that you can see, and it doesn't have a mirror flash, and you can see your eyes, and everything's great. And when you go outdoors, it goes to a dark sapphire color. It goes to a mirror flash finish where you can't see your eyes, and it becomes polarized. Now, that's where the game changer is.
Yes.
Indoors, this lens is not polarized right now. So, Active Blue, AK, still got it in there, AKTIVEBLU. And that's on Instagram. And a whole other story. You'll love the story in a second. But Active Blue is very calming lens when you put it on. It's
Mm-hmm.
very, and the medical dye we use for that is actually used to treat hyperactive disorders, ADHD, and all kinds of stuff. So it's actually a true medical calming lens.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. No
yes,
wonder I like it so
yes,
much.
yes. And we didn't talk about it,
Yeah.
but the Hunter's HD Gold is a medical dye as well that is used to treat depression up in North America where there's not sunlight year round. So it's
Oh
designed to
wow.
trick the brain to give more sunlight. And it's an actual true medical dye as well. And there's a lot of other elements for the I'm not a doctor, never claimed to be one, and don't never want to be one. But it's
Same.
there's a lot of medical benefits with Hunter's HD Gold as well. Now, to get back to Active Blue real quick, because this is what we're doing, just having a
Please.
conversation.
No, this is
Um,
great.
when you get outside, it goes darker. You can't see my eyes. It's a mirror flash finish, which means it's beachwear. Now, Hunter's HD Gold is not beachwear. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I've had customers call me and say, I got busted at the beach wearing Hunter's HD Gold. I said, I told you not to wear these at the beach because they're going to be able to see where your eyes are going to wander. That's what I mean by beachwear.
Right. Okay, I just now got it. That is so
Yes.
funny. I love
Hunter's
that.
HD Gold, not for the beach. You can wear
Yeah,
them, but you better be pretty secure because you're going to get busted looking where you're not supposed to be looking if you're looking at somebody wearing a bikini or something else.
totally
That's the man
fair.
in me.
Or
Or if you're a
rolling your
guy.
eyes. Not that I roll my
Yes.
eyes or anything, but
Yes.
I've had to
Yes.
think about that.
You've rolled your eyes twice to me before. I'm
Oh
keeping track.
no, no. That's so funny.
Anyway, as we digress, the polarization, when it goes polarized, it actually enhances your electronics. Now, pay attention to that. Normal polarized lenses, when you wear it, you got to turn your phone sideways. You can't see a tablet. You got to do all this other stuff.
Mm,
You can't see how much you're paying for gas. You can't see, some fish finders you can't even see when you're fishing. So this is a lens we came out with for everything outside the shooting sports, all other active lifestyle activities, fishing, marathoning. We tested these on a marathon in Birmingham. And
okay.
what I did is when you watch a marathon start, you see two things. One, everybody's ready to go. And as soon as it starts, they do this with their polarized lenses, hit their watch, Fitbit, or something they can't see with their polarized lenses, and then go back to running. These actually enhance your electronics. You don't have to do that anymore. We also found out with this lens, being a variable polarized lens, that pilots love it. We've actually got pilots now with Delta, Southwest, and United that are wearing these. And a lot of personal pilots like Cesar Sanchez, a lot of people that have their personal planes and everything else love this lens for flying because it enhances their iPads and all the controls they see they cannot do with other polarized lenses. So we didn't know that was going to be the case. We had no idea. We made this for a lens for, like I said, outdoor sports, outdoor activities of running, marathoning, cycling, canoeing, fishing. We made this lens for everything but the shooting sports. And I guess it's been almost a month ago, or about 3 weeks ago, not quite a month. I met with the vice president of Major League Fishing, and they found it. We'll see what happens because
Oh my
they
goodness.
found out about them.
How
And who knows?
exciting. Yes.
I don't know. It's like me. I open all the doors. And it scared a lot of people because when I started talking about this news, the people that are my friends, they started freaking out going, oh no, this means you're not going to be around the shooting sports anymore. That's not the case. Remember what we talked about earlier about everybody stays in the shooting sports about 3 to 4 years and go do something else?
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of fishermen. There's a lot of people I've met that used to do shooting that are now wearing active blue because they knew about me and they keep following me on this. So through osmosis, I'll work my way to other avenues.
Absolutely.
Remember earlier I talked about Power Slap?
Yes. The show on Rumble.
All this comes back to a conversation. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of Power Slap and what Dana White's doing and everything else, and I can't wait to see him Thursday night when he introduces Trump at the Republican National Convention. But Sheena Bathory, you know who that is in Power Slap?
I don't actually.
All right. Do you remember the lady? She went viral. She's from South Africa. She got slapped, blew a kiss, and then knocked the lady out on the next one. Remember that? Remember that clip?
I think so. Wait, say her name again. Sheena
Bathory.
Okay.
Now, she's out there on Instagram and everything else and got all kinds of things that she does on the side, which is great. So anyway, I'm watching the match and I reach out on Instagram and I just send a message to Sheena. He's like, hey, I've got these lenses I'd like for you to try. Let me know what you think, blah, 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 blah. And I sent the message. Never met her, day in my life, but an amazing athlete in Power Slap. So a couple of weeks goes by and, she replies and sure and behold, we sent her some glasses. And if you go to Active Blue on Instagram, you can see where she's actually wearing them on one of the shows. So
oh my goodness.
It's just, and it's just neat because, there's a post I did where it says, Active Blue can't protect your eyes, during Power Slap. And if you swipe, then it shows her wearing them, but it can protect your eyes out in the sun and everything else. So, it's just by meeting people. I met some shooters that introduced me. If you don't know about me, you'll figure it out soon enough. I'm a huge wrestling fan. And there was a shooter that doesn't shoot anymore. And she introduced me to Raquel, who's a female wrestler in Texas. Now, I sent her a pair. She'd come up wearing them one night on Monday Night Raw. You never know where you're going to see Hunter's HD Gold. And there's a lot of pairs out there, with some people I can't talk about that are wearing them still. But it's just one of those things. I get to meet a lot of cool people in the things I get to do on the side. And now we're looking at Active Blue, different things next year, looking at next year going into sponsor stuff with fishing. Looking at sponsoring stuff with the hockey team. I became a hockey fan because of Luigi that we talked about earlier. Went down to go see him in Sunrise and became a Florida Panthers fan. Then lo and behold, they end up winning the Stanley Cup. So now I've got all kinds of little feelers out there. And there's a lady down there that does IVs for replenishment at shooting sports, Christina Baker. And she works for a company where the goalie for the Florida Panthers actually goes to the shop there and gets gets therapy to IV therapy. So I may be able to meet somebody on the Florida Panthers. So I don't know. It's just I keep opening doors and having a blast, and that's why we're having now almost a 2-hour conversation today that we just can talk about everything. And I told you it's probably going to be more than one show we're going to end up doing because there's so much more to talk about.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
now I'm traveling with the Magical Mystery Tour, which is the van, and that's got everything inside where I do the podcast. I've got 30 guns now that I
Oh
travel
my
with.
goodness.
I've
Okay.
got I've got over 30 guns. They actually got some here. I actually take them out based on if I'm going to a rimfire match, I'm going to a AK match. I'm actually, got more than 30 guns now that I travel with, working with all great and wonderful companies throughout the United States and the world now with their products. Hunter's HD Gold is in 28 different countries now. It's just all started because of a can of wasp spray.
That's so awesome. Full
And I kept
circle.
opening doors and kept opening doors. And,
I love it.
you said you wanted to do a show, and I was like going, here we are. I don't know what it means. And I told you, I said, we're going to have some conversations that there's going to be so much more to talk about. And who knows, we'll end up doing a show together with other people at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I would love that. And I feel silly. I know originally when you came out with Active Blue, I was like, I need the blue lenses because
Yep.
I love the blue color.
They're
It's
hot.
like they're so cool. I
Yep.
have, my podcast is, the blue color for that. So
Yep.
I've had this pair of Ray-Ban aviators that were blue lenses since junior
Yep.
high, and they were my favorite. And they do not have any of the benefits that yours have. So I'm definitely taking a hard turn towards Active Blue.
Well, the best thing is we tested it. We tested it for 3 years, and in 2020 we rolled it out where you can send in your own frame, and I can make lenses for your own frame as well. And that's called Hunter's HD Gold Custom. And we did that. We did testing for 3 years based on giving away a lot of Paris testing stuff. And I'm wearing some Maui gems now with my lenses in them. The biggest thing is it won't be a safety lens with the inscription on there unless it's a Z87 frame. Now, all the lenses will be safety thickness, but they can't have the markings up in the corner, or this corner, of the ANSI ratings. And that's on safety frames unless it's actual safety frame. So Trivex, like I said earlier, is lighter and stronger than plastic or polycarbonate. Does great. It's amazing for how tough and how light it is. And the 43% more light coming to your eyes, game changer, even what you're seeing. And the true blue blockers, we actually got a thing on our website that shows how it protects UV compared to other dyes that are out there. So that's something, not all tints are the same. And that's the label of it on the website. These truly block 100% UVA, UVB, and blue light. So you can be laying in bed with these at night on your phone. You're still going to get sleepy. And the medical dye in this actually blocks melatonin from being created in your eyes. So when you wear these all day and then take them off at the end of the day, that melatonin actually builds up and you can actually fall asleep and have a better rest. And
that's incredible.
Something we don't put out there because everybody's eyes are different. It's just a medical doctor told me that. And I was like going, oh, that's
blocks
cool.
Melatonin.
Yep. From being created in your eyes. So
that's interesting because blue light inhibits melatonin production, and these block blue light. So
100%.
It also inhibits. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm not an eye specialist. I've learned more about optics over the past years than I ever thought was possible. And it's mind-numbing how much stuff's really out there. And that's one thing I educate people about. Go to the eye doctor, get your eye exams. Hunter's HD Gold prescription is only as good as the prescription written.
Absolutely. Makes sense.
We can do anything your doctor prescribes. There's actually a tab on the Hunter's HD Gold website that says friendly doctors. Now, there's a reason we put that out there, because these are doctors that other shooters have recommended for shooting prescriptions. So, if I put gun-friendly doctors, then their doctor may not want their name listed on a website that says gun-friendly. But if you put friendly, anybody in the 2A community knows what friendly means.
Yes.
So these are doctors you can actually take your gun or rifle into. I want these sites focused in. And the doctors can actually take your gun into some of these optometrists and get your prescription made for your sights.
That's
You know,
incredible.
I
I
got an
did not know that was a
astigmatism.
thing.
I got a dot that's a flared out. Well, you got an astigmatism. They can make that dot come in more crisp by getting an eye exam. So the doctors you see on the website are not affiliated with Hunter's HD Gold.
Right.
They are just doctors that have been recommended by other shooters throughout the United States, and I think there's two of them in other countries that are
That's so
listed on there.
interesting.
And if you have a doctor yourself, there's actually a tab you go click that says recommend a friendly doctor. You fill it out and we'll add them to the website. And, I don't need the permission of the doctor. We're sending them business.
Absolutely.
We're sending friendly doctors business to go get that prescription made.
Absolutely.
That's what it's about. Eye health is so important. And I have people come to me all the time saying, I need to get a prescription, but I ain't been to the optometrist in 6-7 years. I'm like going, yeah, you need to.
Yes,
you need to.
Absolutely.
And I've had people go, well, can you read the prescription off these glasses? I said, not with me, but I can take them back to the office and we can have them for a day. And then it takes about 2 days to get your prescription lenses made and mail them right back to you. And then we can read the prescription right off your current glasses. But that's all we got going on. We can talk about more, but I've got other plans I've got to do here in a little bit.
Yeah, no worries. This has been so incredible. I do want to ask about green dots before we go. Do these also help with green dot
Hunter's
acquisition?
HD Gold does.
Gold.
Hunter's HD
Got it.
Gold makes green dots, and red dots do amazing, and also the fiber does really good with green.
Okay.
You do not want ruby with no ruby with green at all. It makes green almost disappear.
Okay, good to know.
The active blue, everybody's eyes are different, but the active blue is not made as a shooting lens. But there are some shooters out there that like it for that, but it doesn't really do anything for the green or the red. It's just kind of the same. But if you want something to enhance the green dot, then that's going to be Hunter's HD Gold or green fiber.
Thank you.
And all this stuff is found on our frequently asked questions on the Hunter's HD Gold website.
Lovely. I should have hit that up before this, but no, that's so lovely. No,
we just added that page. We just added that page like 3 weeks ago because I was off. And that's something else I gave my guy to do. So
I love it. I love it. You're like, we need this. No, I totally get that. I have enjoyed this so much, Brian. It's been an honor to hear your story here. I know sometimes as a podcast host, like your own story doesn't get told a lot. So I feel honored having you on She Shield to tell that today. This has been incredible. I've loved both the lenses so far. I've only had these today, but having these to block the studio lighting has been so nice because I usually have a headache by now. I don't have a headache at all. I feel like I could do this for 8 more hours. So
imagine shooting with these for 8 hours and not having any eye fatigue at the end of the day.
I will Sunday. I'm excited.
These relax your eyes so much. You have fresh eyes at the beginning of the day and fresh eyes at the end of the day the same way. And like I said, people tell me all the time, I forget I'm even wearing them until I take them off and realize how dark it is outside.
I love that.
There's been lots of matches I go to that may finish under headlights. And people who have Hunter's HD Gold have an advantage than people that don't.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I'm going to wear these to a level 1 USPSA match Sunday. So it'll be a good little test.
On your USPSA level 1 match, you got to get involved in the Hunter's HD Gold Cup series.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was a thing.
Level 1 matches on USPSA and Tier 1 matches. We give away monthly drawings, and we had a huge grand prize at the end of the year, and you can find out about that on Hunter's HD Gold and in Cup Series.
Okay.
You got to submit a picture of you at the match wearing Hunter's HD Gold because that's a qualifier, or any of the Hunter's HD Gold branded lenses. So
okay, and I will link all of this in the show notes. So everything from your socials to the website to this competition. That is awesome. Seriously. Well, thank you so much for your time. I've loved this. Is there anything you would like to leave the listeners with before we sign off today, Brian?
We're going to talk again, and we'll do a lot more. But find us on all your social media platforms. But go find me on Rumble. And just go set you up a free Rumble account. You can go to Hunter's HD Gold website. There's a tab there to go do it. Go get on Rumble and get involved with what's going on with free speech. Rumble.com and search Hunter's HD Gold, search She Shield Podcast. Put it all out there because this is where your freedom is going to be in the future. And it's going to be on Rumble because these Google-owned platforms are shutting us down and we're under attack every day. Support the companies that are supporting the Second Amendment and the shooting sports. Shop local and make it happen. Make it happen to support what we believe in, because that's the future of how we're going to protect our Second Amendment even more.
Wonderful. Wonderful. What a very strong ending. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, we will only link your Rumble and therefore force everyone to go there. But yes, gently force.
That's it.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. For those of you listening that would like to see highlights of today's episode, Lisa Hamilton, she is part of the pod. She makes all the shorts, the highlights, with some awesome B-roll to give you some context for what we're chatting about. We also have the full footage on YouTube. Everything can be found at She Shield Pod. All resources mentioned for Brian today are available in the show notes, which are the notes below the podcast title. And if you like the podcast, please consider liking by subscribing and leaving a review. And if you or anyone you know is a firearms owner experiencing a crisis, look into holdmyguns.org. They are a organization that will help connect you with a local gun shop or FFL to store your firearm for you in a time of need. The link to access their website is in the show notes. Thank you for listening. In the meantime, stay safe and stay vigilant. Are you in search of top-notch gear that exceeds your expectations? Look no further than GPS, brought to you by Go Outdoors Incorporated. GPS has been dedicated to crafting the finest products for hunting and shooting since 2002. As someone who frequents the gun range, my GPS bag is a staple to safely and effectively haul my gear. My personal favorite is the GPS Tall Range Backpack, which makes walking USPSA stages simple and organized. Their specialized bags are designed to keep all of my valuable equipment secure and organized. With GPS, you can experience the ultimate peace of mind. There are 3 exciting product lines: GPS Tactical, GPS Wild About Hunting, and GPS Wild About Shooting provide the perfect solution for your specific needs. So whether you're on a hunting expedition or hitting the range, GPS is your reliable companion. To find a bag that fits your needs, use code SHESHIELD20, that's SHESHIELD 20, to save and to support the pod. Again, that's SHESHIELD20 at checkout.